Chapter 1, The Beginning, starting with picking up a wife from a bar. Let's play a game. If I lose, I'll be your wife. No. Why? You don't deserve it. Under the dim lighting, the world in the bar seemed to be painted with a mysterious color. The noise filled the entire bar, like a noisy ocean, surging and agitating. Wu swallowed, looking at the woman sitting next to him, covering her head. The woman had long, dark, shiny hair, and was wearing a black and purple figure-hugging dress. The way she sat on the chair made the hem of her dress keep rising, revealing her long, slender, white legs. He called out softly, "System." Name, Pan Minmin. Age, 23. Beauty Index, 95. Body Index, 85. Money Desire, 88. Host Favorability, -20. Physical Health, healthy. Seeing the system's favorability rating, he laughed disdainfully. A -20 favorability rating. If you didn't know any better, you'd think you were in love with me. Yes, Wu is also one of the recipients of the 10,000 system. The Beauty's Money Desire System. System description: you can get cashback for eliminating the money desire of beauties above level A. The average score of the balance of appearance and figure is greater than 85. Current system cashback ratio, 1:2. Host balance, 2021795. Notes. 1. When the desire for money is below 20, the beauty doesn't care about money, and the host will not get cashback for their spending. 2. When the desire for money is above 70, the beauty will pay a high price for money. 3. When the desire for money is above 90, the beauty will give up everything, even their own lives, for money. For people's desire for money is endless, and the desire for money will also change with the system's changes to the beauty's own situation and mentality. Wu, 1.82 meters tall, good-looking and sunny, is a senior at Luzhou University. His father died in a sudden car accident when he was in the 5th grade of elementary school, and his mother also passed away when he was in the 2nd year of junior high school due to excessive worry. Since then, he has been relying on welfare and scholarships all the way to the first stage of entering society. Just yesterday, as one of the thousands of licking dogs, he was heartbroken after being dumped by his ex-girlfriend, and the system came down. Like everyone else, the first thing he did after getting the system was to quit his job. The second thing, money laundering. As a loser, the most convenient place to launder money is naturally a live streaming platform. After testing, it was confirmed that cashback is really possible. Wu began his journey as a big brother. Because the system has a limit on money desire, which he didn't understand after swiping for a day yesterday. But anyway, he is just a tool, and in his eyes, there is only the difference between what can be swiped and what cannot. Some anchors are satisfied with swiping tens of thousands, while others can swipe hundreds of thousands. Once the system prompts that his desire for money is too low, he immediately replaces him, just like on an assembly line, leaving no room for doubt. From noon until after 8 p.m., he had already found 2 million in cash in his bank account. As a millionaire, Wu arrived at the bar with boundless confidence. Being the big brother on the platform was a kind of mental pleasure. Hearing the same things over and over again was boring. "Brother, you're so generous, I love you so much." It was better than the joy of not going online and being more direct. He was sitting in a VIP booth in the bar, which had a minimum spend of at least 100,000 yuan. A pile of fruit and a few bottles of foreign wine were on the table. He couldn't remember how many girls had come up to talk to him tonight. But there was always an empty space next to him. He ignored the important issue that only A-level beauties could trigger the system. There were quite a few women with standard figures and heavy makeup wandering around the bar, but the system only triggered for women with an A-level appearance. Although the visual appearance of the women, combined with their superb makeup skills, made it impossible for Wu to distinguish their actual scores, the system's eyes were discerning. The impact of alcohol did not make him lose his head, and he always kept in mind that the first priority was to earn cashback. Of course, the system also had one of its greatest functions, which was the ability to detect whether a woman was healthy. This was simply a godsend for offline flirting. He was about to leave when a beautiful woman suddenly rushed into his booth. Ding, a woman with a grade of A or above has been detected. The system prompt accurately captured it. Pan Minmin was followed by several men, but when they saw the girl enter the booth, they could only leave sheepishly. Anyone who can sit in a booth with a minimum charge of 100,000 yuan is not someone you can mess with. Pan Minmin slumped on the sofa in the booth for a while before sitting up, covering her head. She heard the man say the words, "You don't deserve it." She finally raised her head. It was a face that had been exquisitely carved, with a melon-shaped face, like a smooth pebble, with graceful curves and a soft luster. Bright eyes, like two bright stars, shining in the dark, coupled with the cold and seductive charm that comes from being drunk. Pan Minmin's appearance was enough to make any man fall in love. "You're so beautiful." Wu Yi's heart pounded, and he couldn't help but praise her from the bottom of his heart. Pan Minmin gave a little laugh. "Then I'm not worthy to be your wife." Wu Yi shook his head. "I could never pick up a wife at a bar. I saw you turn down a bunch of women tonight. They weren't worthy either." Wu Yi replied honestly, because none of them met the standards. "You're not a virgin, are you?" Wu Yi's face flushed. "Damn, you don't have to be so accurate in judging people." Fortunately, the bar was dimly lit. He sat down unceremoniously, put one arm around Pan Minmin's waist, and held her chin with the other hand. "Why don't we go to a hotel now and see if I'm a virgin?" Pan Minmin's body stiffened. She tried to struggle free, but her lips had already been kissed by Wu Yi. "Haven't you seen a pig run before?" After a few dozen seconds, Pan Minmin pushed the man in front of her away, because the man's already unruly hand had actually slipped down her leg and into her skirt. "Where are you putting your hands?" Wu Yi shrugged. "Isn't this how kissing is done?" "Who said that kissing involves groping?" Wu Yi froze for a moment. "Who said that? Isn't this how it's done in big art films?" "You're not a virgin, are you?" Pan Minmin also held out for a bit, her eyes becoming unfocused again, and once again she covered her head and pulled at her collar. Wu Yi frowned, thinking that this girl must have been drugged. Just now, there was a girl who looked like she had been drugged by a man, and her reaction was exactly the same as Pan Minmin's in front of him. Just then, there was a little commotion in the crowd. Wu Yi looked back and saw a few people dressed in black suits and looking like bodyguards, seemingly looking for someone in the crowd. Before he could finish wondering, a warm body pounced into his arms. He saw Pan Minmin's head burrow directly into his arms. A voice came to his ear, "Honey, take me home. I'll never come to a place like this again." At this time, a man in black walked up to the booth. Wu Yi slapped Pan Minmin's butt and cursed, "Next time you come here, I'll beat your butt." Then he threw his jacket over Pan Minmin's head. "Look at your mother, haven't you seen a wife being disciplined before?" Wu Yi shouted at the black-clad man who was peeking around the corner. Immediately, a waitress came up to the black-clad man and said, "Sorry, sir, this is the VLP booth, you can't just come in here." The black-clad man frowned, but he still walked away to another place. Wu Yi saw this and smiled. He took out some cash from his pocket that he had withdrawn today and stuffed it into the waitress's collar, and then grabbed a handful. The waiter's eyebrows and eyes were like silk, and he twisted his body. This booth has spent nearly 200,000 yuan tonight, but there is not a single woman in sight. Everyone is discussing where the big young man with the pouting lips came from. Could it be that I've been lucky? Come, help me support my wife and go out through the VLP passage. The waitress was taken aback and pouted in annoyance. She had just noticed a woman lying on the booth seat with a jacket covering her head. Chapter 2. Whenever I hesitate for even a second, I feel like I'm disrespecting 500 million people. Wu Yihan half-carried, half-hugged Pan Minmin as they quickly walked out of the bar. He looked back, and saw that no one was following them. He was a little worried, because Pan Minmin was really drunk, and her whole body had already collapsed in his arms. Her innocent, school-like face was flushed, but it didn't contain the slightest hint of the flirtatious atmosphere that the other bar girls had tonight. If she really has been drugged, what should I do? Take her to the hospital? Hey, beautiful, we've already left the bar. Are you okay? Shall I call a taxi to take you home? Hey, beautiful? Pan Minmin, your mom is calling you home for dinner. Pan Minmin's body trembled, and she looked up with difficulty, wondering how the man in front of her knew her name. Her eyes then became vacant. Looking at the handsome face of the man in front of her, she laughed like crazy, and also felt a sense of relief. After a struggle, she said, "I don't have a home." "Didn't you just say you were going to take me to a hotel? Then take me there and do what you want." Wu Yi. The softness in his arms itself made Wu Yi's blood boil. The pitiful expression on the girl in front of him, coupled with her watery eyebrows, stimulated him everywhere as a beginner. Laozi was originally here to indulge, what's the point of struggling? Wu Yi shouted angrily into the air, as if making a vow, and he directly picked up the girl's weak and bony body. The next day, Wu Yi shook his head a little confusedly. He glanced around. A huge bedroom with bright floor-to-ceiling windows. The sun was shining on the bed because the curtains weren't drawn, and it was a little blinding. Oh, yes, it seems like I'm in a hotel. He was about to get up and draw the curtains. He suddenly felt someone next to him, and hurriedly looked under the covers, where a woman was lying. The woman was curled up slightly, with his arm in her embrace, and with the woman's innocent and beautiful face in her sleep, Wu Yi was in a daze for a while, not daring to move a muscle. Wu Yi called out to the system softly. Name, Pan Minmin. Age, 23. Beauty Index, 95. Body Shape Index, 85. Money Desire, 88. Host Favorability, 5. Health, Healthy. Balance, 2,800. Oh yes, Pan Minmin. Wu Yi then remembered what had happened last night. Wait, what's going on? Why is my balance down to 2,800? Oh no! Wu Yi's face turned white. He then remembered that yesterday, from the perspective of rebates, of course he had to drive the most expensive car, but it seemed that he had not found the girl's ID card, so he used his own ID card. The Twin Hotel, Deluxe View Executive Suite, 22,888 yuan a night. At that time, the only thought in his mind was that since he had already driven it, he must definitely use up the 2 million, so that the 2 million could become 4 million. So he opened his mouth and directly booked a quarter day, and there is no rebate for spending on yourself. Wu Yi angrily scratched his hair with his other hand. After a few dozen seconds. Forget it, you can always make more money. It's just a matter of spending an afternoon and getting it back. He glanced sideways at a female body that was like a work of art bestowed by the heavens. Feeling the smoothness and curves in the palm of his hand, he blushed slightly, and his body suddenly became restless again. It's all system money anyway. It's worth 2 million. It's not too bad to be able to end decades of virginity on such a beautiful woman. The girl let out a baby's cry. She slowly opened her eyes. Pan Minmin looked at the familiar but strange man in front of her. She smiled to herself, turned her head to the other side, and said without emotion, "What? You were so brave last night, but now you've gone soft?" Pan Minmin slowly sat up, lifted the quilt, quickly picked up the clothes scattered on the floor, and walked into the bathroom. After the quilt was lifted, Wu Yi noticed that there was a pool of dried blood at the corner of the bed. No way? Wu Yi froze for a moment, wondering if the girl he had brought back from the bar was still intact. Bang, the bathroom door opened. The girl had already walked out fully dressed. And Wu Yi swallowed. He hadn't really paid much attention to the girl during last night's passion. Under the sunlight, he realized that the woman he had spent the night with was as beautiful as a fairy. Pan Minmin's reaction was surprisingly calm. She walked over to the dressing table provided by the hotel and began to retouch her makeup. The entire bedroom of the large executive suite had an indifferent to calm atmosphere, except for the slight sound of the girl retouching her makeup. Wu Yi felt uncomfortable all over. He took a deep breath and broke the calm by saying, "Beauty, don't worry, this is my own choice, and I won't cause you any trouble." The girl heard Wu Yi's hesitant words and replied lightly, without stopping her actions. Wu Yi frowned. Was this girl normal? Was this the reaction of a girl's first time? Although Wu Yi was also a novice, it didn't mean that he didn't have common sense. So the more the girl did this, the more Wu Yi felt a little guilty. Pan Minmin applied a little light makeup and regained her image of a stunning beauty. She walked over to the coffee table in the room, where her bag was placed. She took out her phone and glanced at it a few times. The girl's eyebrows had already been squished into a Sichuan character. After glancing at Wu Yi, Pan Minmin took her phone and walked out of the bedroom. A quarrel ensued. Where am I in relation to you? How dare you make this decision? I won't agree to it. Pan Guofu, if you go on like this, you'll be giving away Grandpa's hard work for nothing. I'm going back right now. The last words turned into a shout, followed by a rush of footsteps. The bedroom door slammed open again, and Pan Minmin almost collided with Wu Yi, who quickly reached out to embrace her waist. Ding, Pan Minmin's favorability -10. What the hell? Pan Minmin steadied herself, shook off Wu Yi's hand, and walked towards the table, picking up the pace. Are you in trouble? Wu Yi frowned. None of your business. Wu Yi shrugged. Maybe I still have a conscience, and I always feel like I have to do something. Looking at Wu Yi's serious expression. Pan Minmin gave a slight smile, slowly walked in front of Wu Yi, reached out and helped him straighten his collar, and said softly, "What? Yesterday I remember someone at the bar saying that I'm not worthy of being his wife. If I were still at the bar, I would still say that." Ding, Pan Minmin's favorability plus 10. Pan Minmin was surprised, and her face softened a lot. "How do you choose between 500 million and me? Be honest." Wu Yi gave a slight smile. "You want to hear the truth?" Pan Minmin nodded. "To be honest, whenever I hesitate for even a second, I feel like I'm disrespecting the 500 million. Chapter 3, for every 100 million borrowed, I'll be your lover for a year." "You're being honest." Pan Minmin gave a small smile, her white teeth and charming smile very attractive. Wu Yi gave a small smile. "Not really, I just know the difference between playing around and being serious." "Huh, so are we playing around or being serious?" Pan Minmin's face returned to its calm expression, and she picked up the Chanel bag on the table. Suddenly, she saw a black card pressed against the bag, and a hint of surprise appeared on her face. "A VIP card for the Gemini Hotel?" Wu Yi glanced at the black card in Pan Minmin's hand, and suddenly remembered that it seemed that someone claiming to be a personal butler had given it to him yesterday. His was the main card, and Pan Minmin's was the secondary card. A mocking expression appeared on Pan Minmin's face. "It seems that you've said that to a lot of women." Ding, Pan Minmin's favorability rating -5. Wu Yihan blushed and said honestly that this was an accident and it was the first time I had been here. Pan Minmin laughed coldly. "There is a book I recommend you read, it's called The Art of Lying. If you read it carefully, it will help you not easily reveal your lies when wooing girls in the future." Wu Yi. Seeing Wu Yi's embarrassed look, Pan Minmin's gloomy mood eased slightly, and she said indifferently, "It doesn't matter. Even if you change women several times a day, it's fine. Since you like my appearance and figure, I'm serious. I need 500 million yuan in capital. If you have it, I can be a woman who listens to you and understands you. I don't even need any status. How about it?" Perhaps because the man in front of her had just taken her virginity, a glimmer of expectation suddenly arose in Pan Minmin's heart. Since it was already done, she might as well give it to him rather than to anyone else. But when she saw the dullness in the boy's face, she knew she had really overthought it. The man in front of him could afford a VIP card for the Gemini Hotel, so he shouldn't be short of money. Judging from his age and the clothes he was wearing, he should still be a second-generation member of the family. There was nothing about him or his words that smacked of a businessman. But 500 million in cash. Even if he took it from home, he would have to give some sort of reason, and who would lend money to the Pans these days? Pan Minmin hesitated for a moment and said, "I know that 500 million is a lot of money. We can sign an agreement. You don't have to give it to me. I will pay you a certain market interest rate every year for 5 years. I will definitely pay you back after 5 years. And, during those 5 years, I can be your lover, how's that?" Wu Yi thought about it carefully. 500 million is still a thing? It's okay to give it away, let alone lend it. I don't have 500 million right now, but give me some time. Needless to say, I'm not one of those little girls who needs you to paint big pictures. Pan Minmin's face returned to its coldness, and without saying anything else, she looked in the mirror and, after feeling that there was nothing unusual, she prepared to walk towards the door. "Hoof." Wu Yi snorted, and with a cry, he grabbed Pan Minmin from the waist and once again pressed her down on the bed. What are you doing?" Pan Minmin's face showed horror, and she tried to push Wu Yi away, but Wu Yi grabbed her hand and pressed it on the bed. The girl's face was red, and her delicate appearance made Wu Yi unable to resist kissing her lips again. I, let go of me, I have urgent business now, I can't come again." "But when there's no rush, it's okay? Like at night?" Wu Yi smiled, stopped joking, let go of Pan Minmin's hand, and slowly sat up and said, "If someone offered you 500 million, you could become his lover." Pan Minmin sat up and said while straightening her own messed up clothes, "Yes, anyone would do. Even a 70-year-old man would do." Pan Minmin stood up abruptly, tears in the corners of her eyes. "Do you believe I'll jump off here right now?" No. Wu Yi felt awkward for a moment. Pan Minmin's resolute expression did not look fake at all. He didn't expect Pan Minmin to be so unable to take a joke. Then he put on a serious expression and said, "Your lover promised me, but it will take time to get that much money." Pan Minmin was slightly surprised. "Are you listening carefully?" I want 500 million. I heard you, 500 million, not 50 million, and not 5 million either. How long will it take to give it to me? Wu Yi's eyebrows twitched, and he patted her shoulder and said, "First help me massage it for a while, so I can see how obedient you are." A flash of unease crossed Pan Minmin's face, but she knelt behind Wu Yi seriously and gave him a gentle massage. Then she said, "Time." Wu Yi thought about it and felt that if you worked really hard, it would take half a month to earn 500 million. Actually, I'm not sure, it might take half a month. Pan Minmin shook her head. No, I need it this Friday. Wu Yi frowned, looked at her phone, and realized that yesterday was Sunday and today was Monday. It was only 4 days, a bit too rushed. I'm not sure how much money I'll have by Friday. 100 million a year. Pan Minmin directly made a gesture. I won't go to anyone else before Friday. If you can't get 500 million by Friday and I still need to get money from you, I'll find you based on how much I'm short. We'll sign a lover's contract for 100 million a year, but the payment will still be divided into 5 years? A lover's contract? Wu Yi paused for a moment. The contract is just to show my sincerity. This is just a loan, not for you to give it to me. After 5 years, you will still get 100 million plus the market interest for 5 years, and I will be your lover for 1 year. How about it? Pan Minmin played with her hair, as if trying to make the most seductive gesture of that woman. Unfortunately, because it was so deliberate, it looked a bit funny. Don't do it if you can't. It makes me feel all goosebumps. Let's just settle on that. Pan Minmin blushed, then frowned. Don't you want to know what the money is for? Wu Yi shook his head. It doesn't matter what it's for, what matters is who you are. I'm giving you 500 million just because I want to. Looking at the way the man in front of her just opened his mouth and asked for it, Pan Minmin was slightly disappointed. Is 500 million that easy to come by? With a mind of trying anything to get the money, she got out of bed, took out a business card from her bag, and handed it to Wu Yi. Really, 500 million. Call me. Then she turned around and quickly walked out of the bedroom. Hey, didn't you say to add her on WeChat? Add her now, or else we'll just pretend we don't know each other. The sound of the door opening and closing came from the outer room of the executive room. Wu Yi grinned, poured herself a glass of water, and stretched out on the sofa. The phone rang. Wu Yi looked at the number and saw it was her best friend Li Kaming. Hey, are you still alive? I'm dead. It's your ancestors and your phone now. Damn, you dare not come home at night and not reply to my messages? Get to the point, I've been dragged by my girlfriend to stay in bed all night and I'm exhausted now. Okay, Lao Chen said he's been calling you for a few times and you never reply to his messages, so he called me. Lao Chen is the vice dean of the finance school of Lujian University. He has a good temper and never names names, so everyone affectionately calls him Lao Chen. Wu Yi's thesis advisor is him. Wu Yi hung up the phone, looked at the WeChat message, and gave him a cold stare. He had called once at 8 a.m., and she hadn't answered, and then at 8:05 a.m., he had sent a message. Please take the day off with the company and come to my office. It was only 8:40 a.m., and he called me several times without returning the message. After tidying up the room briefly, Wu Yi was ready to go back to school. Before she could leave the house, the door was knocked on. Wu Yi opened the door and a man in his 40s stood there with a girl in a red hotel manager's uniform. The man greeted Wu Yi with a smile and said respectfully, "Hello, Mr. Wu, my name is Zhou Rui, I'm the vice president of the Gemini Hotel." "Mei Mei, why don't you say hello to Mr. Wu?" Zhou Rui quickly gestured to the girl next to him. Chapter 4, Coke with no sugar or with sugar? This is all fiction, please don't take it personally, and the names are not meant to refer to anyone. The girl was slightly nervous, but she took a step forward and put on a professional smile. "Hello, Mr. Wu, my name is Shangwan Mimi. I will be your personal butler for the next 90 days, 24 hours a day. You can contact me for anything you need, I will do my best to serve you." Wu Yi's eyes lit up. The girl in front of him was about 1.7 meters tall, with a pretty face and big, watery eyes. She was wearing a tight-fitting professional outfit that hugged her hips. The most attractive thing about her was that she clearly looked slender, but her waist actually had extremely magnificent proportions. Ding, the system has found a beauty with a grade of A or above. Name, Shangwan Mimi. Age, 23. Face Value Index, 88. Body Shape Index, 91. Money desire, 45. Host favorability, 10. Physical health, healthy. Zhou Rui led Shangguan Mimi into the room. Mr. Wu, I didn't come to visit last night because it was late, and I didn't want to disturb your rest. I hope I didn't disturb you. Wu Yi poked his head. He actually didn't remember much about what happened when he checked into the hotel last night, but he vaguely remembered that it seemed like a man who claimed to be the hotel butler gave him a VLP card. I remember that I was contacted by a personal butler last night, and it seemed to be a man. Mr. Wu, this is the personal butler I have specially assigned to you. Zhou Rui beamed from ear to ear. Mei Mei is an intern this year and is still in her 4th year of university. You are his first personal butler client. If there is anything you are not satisfied with, you can tell me and I can replace him. Wow, really anything? Wu Yi was taken aback and let out a gasp. Mei Mei Zhou Rui gave a commanding shout. After a moment of hesitation, Shangguan Mei Mei said, of course, you can tell me if you need anything. You're very good. Wu Yi smiled. Hearing Wu Yi's words, Zhou Rui was overjoyed and quickly said, I'm glad you like it. Then Mei Mei will be your contact. Of course, if there's anything Mei Mei can't handle, you can always tell me. I have a little connection with some entertainment activities in Luzhou, and I can guarantee safety and confidentiality. Zhou Rui's respect for Wu Yi was not due to a mere 2 million yuan recharge. Rather, he recognized at first glance that the woman accompanying Wu Yi was Pan Minmin, the daughter of the Pan Group, the leading catering group in Fujian province. The Pan Group hosted its annual meeting at the Gemini Hotel every year. And Miss Pan's appearance was truly stunning, and it was hard not to remember her. But what Pan Minmin was remembered for was not her appearance. Rather, it was her textbook-level corporate management skills. The year before last, during the darkest hour of the catering industry, Mr. Pan handed over the reins of the Pan's Group's founding high-end homestyle cuisine brand Luhai to Pan Minmin. After just 1 year in charge of Luhai Court, she used iron-fisted methods to fire more than 30 managers from the company, from the former general manager of Luhai Court to an ordinary waiter in the restaurant. She also implemented a series of lightning-fast operational measures that suited the environment and pulled Luhai Court back from the brink of death, despite having already been announced as potentially closing down. His amazing and lightning-fast measures made the entire Baman Circle dare not underestimate this young general manager. Even someone who had once worked in Hongmu Investment felt that this woman was amazing. Rumor has it that Lan Haoyu, the son of the Baman Lan family, has been madly pursuing Pan Minmin and has repeatedly proposed marriage, all of which has been rejected by Pan Minmin. And now the man in front of her is actually taking Pan Minmin to a hotel room? He can't imagine what kind of person this man is. At this thought, Zhou Rui's smile on his face became even more respectful. As a Stanford Master of Finance, he was already approaching 50 years old, and the position of Deputy General Manager was almost the ceiling of his life. His thinking was simple: he would use the position of personal butler, which allowed him to come into contact with all kinds of young masters and young ladies, to serve them well and make them happy. Perhaps if one of the young masters or young ladies felt comfortable with him, then he would no longer be a Deputy General Manager. He knew very well that when these rich young masters and young ladies went out to play, they were looking for excitement, but they also wanted it to be safe and confidential. However, the most important thing to do at the moment is to first get closer to the relationship and at the same time demonstrate one's abilities. After Zhou Rui finished speaking, he tactfully withdrew. The room was left with Wu Yi and Shangguan Mimi. Sir, I saw that you just wanted to go out, didn't you? Shangguan Mimi asked a little unnaturally. No rush, sit. Wu Yi looked at Shangguan Mimi's expression and was very calm. There was nothing particularly expressive about it. He understood that with his own system, there would only be more and more women like this in the future. Very often, to have fun, it has to be interesting. However, when she saw the high salary of 30,000 yuan a month, she was still nervous when she applied for the job. Zhou Rui had made it very clear at the time. There were hotel waiters making 3,000 to 4,000 yuan a month, but a personal butler making 30,000 yuan a month had to be dedicated. At first, she couldn't accept it and simply refused and went back to the dormitory. But after a 2-month job search, she realized that society is so cruel. As a college graduate, she could not find a job that paid more than 5,000 yuan a month. During the period, because of her appearance and figure, she encountered many bosses who wanted to take advantage of her. After a series of ideological struggles, she contacted Zhou Rui again. In fact, you are very lucky. Zhou Rui's first words to her were these. He was not surprised, but instead told her very seriously. This is a superficial and money-worshipping society. You have no background and no status. If you don't have something that other people don't have, then you are just an ordinary person. Now your looks and figure have earned you such a job, so you should feel lucky. Not to mention that a monthly salary of 30,000 yuan is almost the ceiling for ordinary workers. Just the fact that you get to meet important clients is already a blessing in your life. As for whether you can get any more blessings and make the clients like you, that depends on your personal abilities. Shangguan Mimi gritted her teeth and sat down next to Wu Yi. Wu Yi looked at the very uncomfortable Shangguan Mimi and just smiled lightly. Do you want a Coke? Shangguan Mimi was taken aback. What kind of question is this? But she subconsciously nodded. Do you want a sugary one or a sugar-free one? Ha! I usually drink sugar-free. Great, that's a coincidence, I also drink sugar-free, you passed the interview. Wu Yi grinned twice, pinched Shangguan Mimi's face and said. Okay, I see that the VLP service has a personal driver, so can you arrange one for me? Shangguan Mimi was completely dumbfounded. What did he mean, just this interview? Hurry up, I still have some things to do, Wu Yi said with a smile. Okay. Shangguan Mimi stood up with a red face and sent a message on her phone. The two walked out of the room. Zhou Ruwei was still in the lobby in front of the elevator of the penthouse suite. When he saw the two walk out, he was stunned. So soon? He hurriedly approached Mr. Wu. If you are not satisfied with Mei Mei, I can replace her with another personal butler. Shangguan Mei Mei's body tightened and she quickly looked at Wu Yi. Wu Yi smiled and pinched Shangguan Mei Mei's face and said, No, I like drinking Diet Coke. Chapter 5, Guofeng Dance Beauty Xiaosuizi. Shangguan Mei Mei sent Wu Yi down to the basement, where a black Mercedes-Benz S600 had already stopped at the entrance. This greatly surprised Wu Yi, who had not expected such a high-class personal chauffeur service. The chauffeur, dressed in a black suit, was waiting there early and quickly opened the door for Wu Yi with his gloved hands. Okay, I'll come back and listen to you flirt when I'm free. Wu Yi smiled and pinched Shangguan Mimi's face. Shangguan Mimi blushed again and looked at the chauffeur who had opened the door, embarrassed. The driver was obviously also professionally trained, and looked away. At that moment, a man's voice came from the basement. I don't care, pay me back. Sure Kai-shan, didn't I give you 1 million? A female voice that sounded very panicked came. Damn it, I haven't received a single penny, and I've only received 200,000 from beginning to end. The man's voice changed from loud to a roar. Wu Yi frowned and immediately rushed out. He was too familiar with this voice, it was Pan Minmin's. After a few steps, he saw a burly man with bloodshot eyes, who had a grip on Pan Minmin's neck and was holding her down on top of a car. The force was so great that it almost lifted Pan Minmin's entire body. There was also a person lying next to the car, who was either dead or alive. Wu Yi quickly looked around, pulled a hotel cleaning truck over to him, and accelerated, rushing towards the burly man. The burly man was emotional and didn't pay attention for a moment. He couldn't dodge in time and was directly hit hard by the garbage truck, taking a few steps back. Run! Wu Yi yelled. As a result, Pan Minmin was limp on the ground and couldn't even get up a little. Wu Yi rushed over, picked Pan Minmin up and ran back to the elevator. Where are you running? Sure Kai-shan rushed up quickly and grabbed Wu Yi's sleeve, tearing a piece off. Awesome! Wu Yi was shocked, but with Pan Minmin in his arms, there was no way he could do anything but turn around, protect the girl under his body and shout. Buddy, there's no need to get angry over just 1 million. Perhaps the shouting had an effect. Sure Kai-shan's fist-waving motion actually stopped, and he said seriously. It's 800,000. I'm sure Kai-shan, I would never take more money than I'm entitled to. Damn it, there's only 2,800 left in the account. Wu Yi felt awkward. Can I give it to you tomorrow? Sure Kai-shan glared at him. How dare you lie to me? At this moment, Zhou Ruwei rushed over with a few security guards. Sure Kai-shan immediately fled. Pan Minmin was leaning nervously against Wu Yi's chest. When she heard someone coming, her body suddenly relaxed. She then realized that she was being held very tightly by a man. The warm breath in the man's arms gave her a sense of security that she hadn't felt in a long time. Are you okay? A slightly anxious voice of concern came from her ear. I'm fine. Pan Minmin saw a group of people running over, and hurriedly pushed Wu Yi away with reluctance and stood up. Zhou Ruwei's face was full of pain. One of the key points of the Gemini Hotel's external publicity was that the hotel's security was world-leading. And he never expected something like this to happen. What's more, it happened to a young master who he wanted to curry favor with and the young lady of the Lujian high-end catering group. The impact on the group's brand is huge. Zhou Rui hurriedly bowed apologetically. Mr. Wu, Miss Pan, I'm really sorry that something like this happened in our hotel. I've already called 120. Do you think you need to call the police right away? Zhou Rui asked this because many large families have all kinds of conflicts and are not willing to make everything public. No, don't call the police. Pan Minmin said hurriedly, her face turning pale. Wu Yi was a little angry. Are you out of your mind? He already tried to kill you. The hotel security cameras must have recorded him, and the police should be able to catch him soon. It's none of your business. Pan Minmin said coldly, and hurriedly went to check on the man lying on the ground. Fortunately, he had just fainted. Help me take him to the hospital. Pan Minmin said to Wu Yi, her tone not carrying any hint of a request for help. Okay, you can take my car. Wu Yi didn't think much about it and nodded. Pan Minmin was not at all polite, quickly getting into the car originally assigned to Wu Yi. She looked very anxious, and didn't even bother to look at her own red neck that had been strangled. Wu Yi looked around and wondered why he didn't see Shangguan Mimi. Zhou Rui hurriedly said flattery, you are with Miss Pan, I let her go up first. Very good. Wu Yi smiled, suddenly feeling that Zhou Rui was really quite good. Naturally, Wu Yi didn't need to take her to the hospital. Zhou Rui, with a smile on his face, took care of everything, and also called another car to take Wu Yi back to school. Luzhou City, Fujian Province, Luzhou University. Wu Yi had no choice. Old Chen had called him back in a hurry just to change a few references. And this kind of nonsense about references had tortured him for half a day before he was finally let back into the dormitory. Hey, isn't it said that there are millions of beautiful women in the world, and live streaming platforms account for 90% of them? The sun was setting on the balcony of the fourth-year dormitory at Lujian University. Having finally escaped from the tutor's office, it was already afternoon, and he finally started his new career of swiping. Based on yesterday's experience, he swiped rhythmically, pausing for 3 seconds whenever he saw a beautiful woman, giving the system enough time to make a judgment. And then showing disappointment on his face before continuing to swipe. In theory, it shouldn't be too difficult to find an A-level beauty to spend money on. Unexpectedly, after half an hour, he hadn't triggered a single system prompt. Could it be that the timing was wrong? Wu Yi looked at his phone. It was now 5 p.m. There might be fewer live-streaming beauties at this time of day? Ding, A-level beauty detected as the host is not meeting in person, the system detects the beauty's desire for money is 45. Just as Wu Yi was getting a little impatient, the system prompt sounded. Wu Yi's tiger body trembled, here it comes. On the screen of his mobile phone was a dance anchor, and surprisingly she was from the same city. He briefly read the introduction, the girl's online name was Little Comb, and she was a national dance anchor with more than 200,000 followers. Little Comb had fair skin like jade, a straight nose, and rosy lips. When she danced, the slightly upturned corners of her mouth revealed a touch of confidence and joy. From the video, it looks like she has a tall figure, with light and supple shoulders, and a long skirt that forms a graceful curve. Wu Yi couldn't tell what dance the anchor was dancing, but even as an outsider, he could feel that every gesture in the live broadcast in the video was full of rhythm and rhyme. Her feet lightly spun around the screen, sometimes like flowing clouds and running water. Chapter 6, No Big Shot Would Dare To. The girl on the screen was dancing very seriously and hard, but only a few dozen people were watching in the live broadcast room. After a while, the dance was over, and Xiaosuizi was a little out of breath, dragging her dancing long skirt to the edge of the screen. Then she revealed a surprised expression. Ah, thank you lonely brother for the hot air balloon. Thank you little match brother for the glow stick. Thank you brother Dream for the cheering duck. Little Comb put on a sweet smile and shouted into the screen, friends who like Little Comb, please give Little Comb more likes if you can. Wu Yi directly charged 2,000 yuan into the remaining balance on her card and took a TikTok airship with the back of her hand. Ding, it was found that the host is a beautiful woman above level A who has spent 2,000 yuan, and the cashback is 4,000 yuan. The animation of the TikTok airship popped up and covered the screen in the broadcast room. Xiaosu was stunned. She couldn't believe her eyes. She was a senior accounting student currently taking a postgraduate exam. Her family was average and she didn't want to keep using their money, so she started streaming in her junior year after her roommate introduced her to the idea. Dancing was just one of her hobbies. She had started dancing at the age of 7 and had won many awards. When she first started streaming, she was very confident. She felt that she had the looks and the dancing was at a professional level, so she felt that if she streamed dancing, she would definitely become popular. But after entering the circle, she realized that the circle is really rolling to the sky. Almost all the broadcasters with a few followers are not professional dancers, and many of them are at a very high level. Moreover, the girls who can stand out in a classical dance broadcast are all refined and elegant, just like fairies. Even so, they still have to rely on strapless, leggy, translucent, tight-fitting, etc. to gain more live streaming traffic and please fans. Little Comb can't do these. She is also a student and dares not process the meeting casually, so although she has gained more than 200,000 followers because of some videos that went viral, there are only a few dozen people watching her livestream at any one time, and sometimes as few as a dozen. For her, gaining a few hundred followers is like celebrating the new year, let alone receiving large rewards. She also envies those streamers who have a big brother to protect them. But everyone is an adult, and she knows very well what she has to do to get a big brother to protect her. It's not that there haven't been any big brothers who have approached her, but they would just ask to meet up once, and then they would protect her forever. Regardless of whether the person on the other end is a real big brother or a fake one, she is not willing to give herself up for just a little money. So, over time, she has given up hope. She doesn't have high expectations for her daily broadcasts, and her goal is just to earn enough to cover her living expenses. Unexpectedly, a level 56 big brother came to support Little Comb. What's Xiaosuizi daydreaming about? Hurry up and thank the big brother. Xiaosuizi only reacted when she saw the comments, and she was so flustered that she stood up and bowed to the screen, forgetting to put on her protective hand. She only heard Xiaosuizi excitedly say, "Thank you, Midnight Cat, for the TikTok airship." Wui glanced at the screen and had to say that Xiaosuizi looked very thin, but she still had a very good figure. The fans on the screen, who were good at capturing details, were suddenly excited. Many people yelled that they had already recorded the screen and were ready to enjoy it slowly in the evening. Little Comb was blushing, but she had no time to pay attention to these compliments right now. She quickly said, "Early morning cat brother, what dance do you want to see Little Comb dance?" Early morning cat, will send a TikTok airship *1. Brother, do you want to see me dance? Early morning cat, will send a TikTok airship *1. Early morning cat, will send a TikTok airship *1. I, thank you. Early morning cat, gifted 1 airship. Air. Early morning cat. Early morning cat, gifted 1 airship. Brother. The screen was full of airships, and Xiaosu was a little incoherent. This was her first time receiving so many large gifts, and the screen kept refreshing 10 times before stopping. Xiaosu was already so excited that she was blushing, feeling a sense of happiness that came too suddenly. The 9,000 yuan income has solved her tuition problem for the next semester. This time, Xiaosua responded quickly, got up and shouted, "Brother Midnight Cat is so generous, thank you, Brother Midnight Cat." Xiaosua is really moved. Does Brother Midnight Cat want to watch any dance music? Xiaosua will dance it for you. Calling Brother Cat. The screen popped up a reply from the big guy without any emotion. Xiaosua froze for a moment and immediately said enthusiastically, "Yes, Brother Cat, is there any dance music you want to watch? I don't like watching dances that are so warm. I'll go first, you enjoy the broadcast." In the early morning, the cat left the broadcast room. The expression on Xiaosuizi's face was embarrassed. The whole broadcast room was dumbfounded. They were still waiting for the big guy to make an excessive request, but the big guy just left directly. Holy shit? Really? What's going on? This can't be a guild account, right? Self-brushing? Nonsense, Xiaosuizi didn't even add the guild, this is the real big guy. Damn, only a real big shot would be so willful. Okay, after a group account has been bragged about, you have to pretend to interact a bit, just in case someone realizes that it's a group account. Big shot, it's fine. Little Comb, it's all your fault. You should have licked the big shot's feet. Right, look, the big shot didn't even want to watch the dance and left. Little Comb, I told you to buy some nice clothes a long time ago. Look, even the big shot couldn't be kept here. Little Comb really wanted to cry with frustration. It was the first time she had met Big Boss, and she was so nervous. She immediately sent a private message to Midnight Cat backstage. "Cat boss, Little Comb was really nervous just now. Are you angry with her?" After a while, the other person went online, but the message was always unread, which meant the other person hadn't even read it. This made Little Comb even more worried. However, Wooey had no idea what was being said behind the live broadcast room. He also didn't have the habit of reading private chats on Douyin, because most of the time, it was just push notifications, and there was nothing interesting to read. And for him, after all, he had only gotten the system 2 days ago, and there was still a lot of experimentation to be done. The sound of the prompt kept flashing through his mind. Ding, found that the host is a beauty with an A-level rating or above, spending 2,000 yuan, and getting 4,000 yuan back. 10 prompts flashed past in a row, and Wooey checked his balance, which was 40,800. After thinking for a moment, he transferred 40,000 to Shangguan Mimi on WeChat. In a dance studio in the same city, Shangguan Mimi was doing yoga when she heard the WeChat notification sound and hurriedly got up to check the message. Since Zhou Ruwei had introduced her to the young tycoon Mr. Wu in the morning, she had set all groups and people to message-free mode, except for Mr. Wu. Therefore, whenever WeChat rang, it must be Mr. Wu looking for her. Mr. Wu transferred 40,000. Shangguan Mimi's body shook, and she almost dropped the phone. After looking again and again, she confirmed that it was indeed a transfer of 40,000, and as long as she clicked to receive it, it would go to her WeChat. She thought about it for a moment, and with a worried heart, she sent a message, "Mr. Wu, do you want me to buy you something?" Chapter 7, Why don't you give someone some guidance? Wooey looked at her balance, 800. That is, if the other party doesn't claim it, she will lose both the capital and the rebate. She quickly sent a message back. "No, you claim it first." After a while, she still hadn't claimed it. Wooey was a little annoyed. "If you don't claim it, won't I have to wait until tomorrow to get a refund and get back the 40,000? Do I have to start with 800 yuan? Hurry up, use this money to buy some nice clothes. By the way, call me Brother Cat from now on." What Wooey didn't know was that Shangguan Mimi was having a mental struggle at that moment, and she had already spun around in the yoga studio several times. She wanted to go to the yoga studio next door to discuss it with her best friend, but it seemed that she was broadcasting live and it was inconvenient to disturb her. "Shangguan Mimi, didn't you already prepare yourself this morning? What are you struggling with now?" Zhou Ruwei said that if the big boss takes a fancy to you, you'll know that a salary of 30,000 yuan a month, which is the ceiling for ordinary people, is nothing. And indeed, it is nothing. But if I take it, won't I really be taken care of? I'm not ready to be someone's mistress yet. Shangguan Mimi scratched her hair against the mirror in the yoga room. Just as Wooey was preparing to go back and swipe 800 yuan with a heavy heart, the system tone suddenly sounded. Ding, found that the host is a beautiful woman with an A-level rating or above, spending 40,000 yuan, and getting a cashback of 80,000 yuan. Wooey was surprised, and found that Shangguan Mimi had finally received the transfer, and even sent a picture. "Thank you, cat brother, I'm practicing yoga now, do you think it's good looking? Cute, cute." Wooey clicked on the photo and took a look. It was a selfie of Shangguan Mimi wearing a sports vest and yoga pants in a split. This little girl can do a lot of things. Wooey licked her tongue and suddenly thought, if that's the case, why not try to see how many rebates the Shangguan Mimi can get? She sent another 66666. Not very sexy. Ah. Shangguan Mimi was shocked and her phone fell to the ground again. She quickly picked up her phone again and read the message. Shangguan Mimi trembled and tapped 66666 to receive it. She looked at herself in the mirror and wondered. Was a tank top and yoga pants not sexy? After thinking about it, her face turned slightly red, and she looked around and outside in the hallway. No one was there. So she took another slightly sexy picture and sent it. Ding, found that the host is a beauty with a grade A or above, spending 66,666 yuan, and getting a cashback of 133,332 yuan. Brother Cat, I don't know what sexy means, so can you give me some guidance? After clicking on the photo sent by Shangguan Mimi, Wooey gave a small smile. To be honest, he was very calm when looking at these now, but well. Obedience must be rewarded. He transferred another 88,888. As soon as the transfer was completed, the system prompt sounded. Ding, host, please be aware that the current amount you have spent is expected by the system to have lowered the beauty's desire for money to 20. If you continue to spend, there will be no rebate. Oh? A 45 desire for money can only receive a transfer of about 200,000? Shangwan Mimi once again trembled as she accepted the transfer of nearly 90,000 and looked at her WeChat balance. Oh my god, it was close to 190,000. She didn't know what to say, and after thinking for a long time, she typed several lines of text and finally sent a message. Cat brother, you've transferred so much money to someone else, how about I treat you to dinner tonight? And then you can teach me what is sexy. Let's talk about it later. You go back to what you were doing. Wu casually replied, and his gaze returned to his phone. He suddenly began to feel that Pan Minmin's 500 million seemed a bit out of reach. If a girl with 45 desires could only spend 200,000, then wouldn't I have to find 2,500 people to spend 500 million? No, I have to try again. Because he had just acted like a bully in Xiaosuizi's live broadcast, he was going to switch to another girl to spend gifts. After a while, Wu had a look of vague pain on his face. He had switched to more than 10 other live streams. Perhaps the beauties were not broadcasting at 5 o'clock, and there was not even one suitable for gifting. There was no choice but to return to the live stream of the small comb. Because of its popularity, the small comb was currently competing with someone else in a joint broadcast. Wu had only just entered when he heard the small comb's voice. Sister Sophie, you can't play like this, my big brother has really left, how can I compete with you? Wu looked down and the system tone immediately sounded. Ding, found beauty A and above, the opponent's desire for money is 55. The Sophie on the other side turned out to be a fitness anchor, with outstanding looks and a great figure. The background seemed to be a gym. The punishment for the two people's PK was to do squats? He couldn't help but smile a little when he saw the discussion. You, a dance anchor, are actually comparing squats with someone else's fitness anchor? Sophie already had more than 6,000 votes, while Little Comb had only a pitiful few hundred. Giggle, Little Comb, you can't play games with me. Ah, that was clearly you tricking me. I just said I could do at most 200, not that I was going to do 200. Ouch, Little Comb, you just said it yourself, and everyone heard you. Sophie's face was smiling like a flower, as if she was talking to a little child. This girl has a very exquisite appearance and figure. A little bit of sweat on her face set off her bright eyes like stars. There was always a touch of vitality in her words, exuding an endless energy and vitality. This is a kind of dynamic beauty that is completely different from the beauty of the Little Comb. Wu Jian was stunned for a moment. Sophie's smile was really pretty, with a feeling of sunshine. He immediately clicked to follow Sophie. Since they hadn't met, the system couldn't give detailed information, but just from the video, Sophie's figure was also at the level of being explosive. After all, the person was wearing yoga clothes, and look at the Little Comb over here, his face was full of bitterness. Brothers, the Little Comb has never begged you, can you support the Little Comb and help the Little Comb defeat Sister Sophie? Wu smiled slightly and then posted in the discussion area, what's the point of winning? Wow, I found Brother Cat. Little Comb, your savior is here. Hurry up, lick it quickly, Brother Cat will guarantee your victory. Looking at the comments, Wu smiled slightly. Money can buy anything, and I just felt it. After getting the system yesterday, he was like someone who had been playing a difficult game and suddenly obtained a cheat. He frantically swiped game gold coins and cleared levels, not caring at all about what he was playing. After going crazy for a while, he suddenly realized that he already had a cheat, so what was the rush? It is most interesting to take the cheat code and look at the scenery of the game and experience the joy of the game. He is now experiencing the most enjoyable part of the system. With only a few dozen seconds left, Xiaosuizi was so anxious that his face turned red, and it took him a long time to say, I can dance whatever dance Brother Cat wants to see. The clothes don't look good, I don't want to watch it. Wu immediately replied. The public screen once again became lively. The big guy said the ultimate reason why Xiaosuizi has never been popular. Ah, Xiaosuizi, we're all adults here, we need to be aware. Or else you can learn from the person on the other side and change into a yoga outfit, YYDS. Wu smiled, it seems that men see eye to eye. However, he did not continue to make things difficult for Xiaosuizi, and directly shot out 10 carnivals. Early Morning Cat gives out 10 carnivals. Ding discovered that the host is a beautiful woman above level A, spending 30,000 yuan, and getting a cashback of 60,000 yuan. Thank you, Brother Cat for the 10 huazi, ah. Little Comb was full of excitement, but before she could finish, the announcement came again. Early morning cat gave away 20 carnivals in Sophie's live broadcast room. Little Comb was petrified. Is the big guy still playing backstabbing? Ding, it was discovered that the host, a beauty with an A-level rating or above, spent 60,000 yuan and got a cashback of 120,000 yuan. It was time for the competition, and in the last 5 seconds, Xiaosuizi was stabbed in the back by her own boss. He knows how to have fun. Both Xiaosuizi's live broadcast room and Sophie's were filled with 660 CXS. Thank you, Morning Cat, for being so generous. Ha ha ha. Sophie let out a hearty laugh. Wooey once again typed on the shared screen, calling Morning Cat. Sophie was also taken aback, but of course she had to fulfill the boss's request. She said, "Brother Cat, I can't dance either, I can't give you a stretching performance, can I? Then why don't we just watch Little Comb do squats, huh? I don't know how to do anything, so I'm leaving." Sophie. Little Comb was dumbfounded. Although she had also received 10 huazi, her heart felt like it was being pulled together. Level 58 Morning Cat has joined the live broadcast. Little Comb was so excited that she had a slight sob in her voice. "Brother Cat, how can you go over to help someone else? 200 squats. Chapter 8, remember to buy more clothes next time. Looking at the message on the screen. Doing 700. At this time, 2 words floated on Sophie's screen. Play, guaranteed win. A message from Brother Cat. Stupid man. Sophie saw the message and shrugged. It seemed that the little sister opposite was going to be trained. But the guy is paying to play, isn't it just for fun? Sophie smiled slightly and immediately said, "Okay, I'll accompany you to the end." The live broadcast room immediately boomed. There's going to be a good show. Oh my god, 500 squats? I'll die if I do 200. So difficult, who should I watch doing squats? Are you sick upstairs? Why do you want to watch her squat? What kind of hobby is that? I guess the big guy doesn't feel anything watching her squirm, after all, the girl always squirms wherever the big guy goes. The 5-minute PK officially started. Ding, it was discovered that the host, a beautiful woman above level A, spent 90,000 yuan and got a cashback of 180,000 yuan. Ding, it has been discovered that the host is a beauty with an A-level rating or above, who has spent 90,000 yuan and received a cashback of 180,000 yuan. Amidst the bewilderment of the crowd, Wooey directly gave away 30 carnival tickets to one person. Xiaosuizi was dumbfounded. What did cat mean? Sophie was also dumbfounded. The guy across from her was actually Cat? The crowd was excited. This is going to be fun. Big brother knows how to have fun. Brother Cat, you can't bully your sister like that. Hey, there's nothing I can do. Sophie just said she'd give me a yoga pose called the train shake. Brother Cat, I can do the train shake too, and I can do the swing too. You're missing the point. Whining, you said you'd win, you're bullying me. Yeah, you're right, you win, my good sister wins. In the early morning, the cat sent out 100 carnival tickets in Sophie's live broadcast room. Ding, it was discovered that the host is a beautiful woman with an A-level rating or above, who has spent 300,000 yuan and received a cashback of 600,000 yuan. Brother Cat is so generous, Brother Cat. Do I need to show some talent? How about I give you a HLT? Fan. Goddamn HLT. Wooey rolled his eyes and immediately returned to Little Comb's live broadcast room. Sophie was too excited to speak, and she was also just a small anchor with a few 100,000 followers. Because of her fitness attributes, she usually had more viewers than Little Comb, and since she worked at a high-end gym, some customers would always support her with a little live broadcast gift. But gifts like this 100 carnivals were absolutely impossible. 100 carnivals. That means she got 140,000 commissions at once. Sophie was a little bit of a crash. But then she shrugged. She was also holding 2 phones now, one for the live broadcast and one for watching Xiaosuizi's live broadcast. Of course, the main thing was to see what Brother Cat had said on Xiaosuizi's live broadcast. She watched as Brother Cat used lightning speed to post 100 carnivals in his own live broadcast and then returned to Xiaosuizi's live broadcast. Xiaosuizi was already so entangled that she was about to pass out. She was studying law and had a good brain, so she knew that the point Brother Cat was making was about the yoga clothes. The 100 carnivals in the next room had already shocked the entire server. Countless netizens had flocked to both broadcast rooms, and the comments sections were abuzz with discussions about who Midnight Cat really was. Some even blatantly suggested in the comments section that Cat Brother go to her broadcast room and perform anything. With the public screen like this, she could hardly imagine how explosive Cat Brother's private chat must be. What should she do? Time passed by minute, and there were only 3 minutes left. If Brother Cat helped her win the competition, wouldn't that mean she would have to at least watch 100 carnival videos? 140,000. If she could make Brother Cat happy, she would get 140,000. Xiaosu no longer cared about the 700 squats, her mind was full of ideas on how to make Brother Cat happy. She gritted her teeth and sent Brother Cat a message. Brother Cat, I don't have any nice clothes, but I have a pair of leotards for dancing, is that okay? Ha, whatever, remember to buy more clothes when you have time. Then Cat Brother, wait for me. Without another word, Xiaosu immediately got up and left the screen. Hey, little sister, aren't you playing anymore? Sophie froze for a moment. This girl is so casual, rolling her own way? Not afraid of offending the big brother and the fans? The comment area was full of confusion. What's going on? Wu saw the comment and laughed. He was the only one who knew what Xiaosu was doing. After posting an expression of expectation, he directly sent 2 rounds of Huazi. Early Morning Cat sent 100 carnivals in Xiaosu's live broadcast room. Early Morning Cat sent 100 carnivals in Xiaosu's live broadcast room. Ding, found that the host is a beauty above level A, spending 300,000 yuan, cashback 600,000 yuan. Ding, it was discovered that the host is a beauty with an A-level rating or above, who has spent 300,000 yuan and received a cashback of 600,000 yuan. Host balance, 1,436,354. There is 1 minute left, and the screen is full of Huazi's bombardment. Sophie sighed, and from the attitude with which Brother Cat had just swiped Huazi, she could guess the ending. This is not someone's big brother looking at her, it's basically molesting the girl on the other side. Shit, flirting with a girl with 130 Huazi? If you hit her in the face, she'll be knocked unconscious and won't be able to go to bed, right? Stupid man, what's so great about having money? Sophie cursed in her heart, but still put on a smile on her face. After all, the person has at least given you nearly 400,000 gifts, and she got 150,000 to 160,000. She didn't even have to do anything to get other girls, it's so sweet. Brother Cat still cares about little Comb sister. She's gone, but he's still praising Huazi. Little sister is so sad. 300 squats is a lot for an ordinary person, but it's still doable for her. Sophie said, and at the urging of her fans, she got up and started doing squats. Ha, next time I'll help you beat others from Brother Cat's barrage of comments. Brother Cat's figure flashed by again. He's faster than Usain Bolt, I don't believe you. Sophie cursed under her breath. Xiaosu's live broadcast room shot straight to the top of the hourly rankings because of the 200 carnival participants, and the number of viewers exploded from a few dozen to tens of thousands. This is crazy. Is Cat Brother trying to take Xiaosu down by spending so much? It feels like if he keeps spending, the host will have to parachute in. Ha ha. This host doesn't look very good either. What's Big Brother's taste? 5:55, I finally found a big cabbage. I have a bad feeling. Little Comb may only be able to dance for Brother Cat from now on. Brother Cat, why don't you come to my sister's live broadcast room? My sister can dance better than them. Wu casually watched everyone's idle chat, accepting the flattery and groveling of a bunch of water friends. However, he was a bit numb to these words. He saw a lot of anchors recommending themselves, so he clicked in to take a look. As a result, he clicked on more than 10 live broadcast rooms. Although some of the girls looked okay, the system didn't respond at all. He had just tested it, and there was no rebate for spending money on substandard girls. Chapter 9, The Iceberg Goddess Lan Meihan. Damn, the beauty technology nowadays is really scary. Wu swiped for a while and cursed. His gift level had reached level 60, but his cash was only 1.2 million, which was quite a bit less than the balance before he went to the bar yesterday. Just as he was thinking about whether or not to go back to Little Comb's live broadcast room and swipe some more, a system prompt came to his ears. Ding, host, please pay attention, the current amount you have spent, the system predicts that the beauty's desire for money has dropped to 20. If you continue to spend, there will be no rebates. Wu Yi froze for a moment, almost forgetting about the desire for money. However, it seems that Xiaosuizi is a little more resistant to being smashed than Shangwan Mimi. No, she hasn't even come back yet. I guess she still doesn't know that I've spent 200 huazi, does she? How was that determined? Forget it, I can just go to Sophie's and spend some. Wu Yi clicked on Sophie's avatar and discovered to her surprise that Sophie had gone offline. What was going on? Had she done too many squats and hurt herself? At that moment, a fat guy suddenly burst into the dormitory. Hurry, hurry, the goddess is coming out. The person who came was Li Kaming. His family was well off, so even though he was a senior, he didn't go on an internship. Under the pretext of preparing for postgraduate exams, he just hung around in the dormitory. He had bought a lot of books for postgraduate exams, but he had never been seen reading them. Lu Na. Yakian. Li Kaming quickly waved at a girl, but unfortunately the girl only glanced at him and didn't react at all. As soon as Wu Yi heard this, he immediately turned off his phone and got up quickly. Their dormitory was on the second floor in the far corner, directly opposite the stairwell of the girls' dormitory building. He saw two girls dressed up walking out of the stairwell, chatting and laughing. Wu Yi felt a pang of worry, and the one walking in front of him was his ex-girlfriend Luna, who he could not let go of. He himself had obtained the system yesterday after receiving intimate photos of Luna and her current boyfriend, because he was disheartened. Luna's smile was still so attractive. Today she was wearing a JK uniform, with a tight-fitting shirt with a pink bow on the top, a pink short skirt and white stockings. Together with her petite face, the whole style was reminiscent of high school first love. Luna attracted the attention of many people as soon as she walked out of the dormitory building. However, both buildings are full of seniors, and everyone knows each girl's facial features were like exquisitely carved jade. Her nose was high and straight, her skin was fair, and she already had a stunning appearance with just a little makeup. She was wearing a blue floral dress that was fresh and elegant. The only thing that marred her beauty was the girl's cold eyes, like a clear stream after the ice had melted. She didn't react at all to the admiring glances from the dormitory building, as if she were an ice sculpture of a goddess, out of place. Wu Yi knew that this girl was called Lan Meihan and was Luna's roommate. Luna's dormitory was a mixed dormitory. He and Luna were both in the finance department, while Lan Meihan was in the law department. It is worth mentioning that Lan Meihan is the undisputed school beauty queen of Lujiang University for 4 consecutive years, from freshman to senior. She has countless suitors, but no one has ever heard of a guy getting even the slightest bit of her attention. No one has even seen her alone with a guy. But the more this is the case, the more the image of goddess that Lan Meihan has in the hearts of the guys grows. Goddess Meihan is always so radiant, I would be willing to take out my ribs to make her some stew to drink. Li Kaming watched in fascination, making a sound of admiration. Fatty Ming, don't even dream of it. If you want to get close to Lan Meihan, you'll have to be able to take Xiao Mengwu's punches. Ha ha ha. There was a burst of giggles from the balcony of the dormitory next door. Yes, standing next to Lan Meihan was a very special girl. Why is she special? Just look at her face. She has beautiful black hair, a sweet appearance, and is definitely one of the top 10 beauties. But if you look down, you'll see a set of toned muscles that should belong to a man. The girl is almost 1.75 meters tall, wearing a sleeveless crop top, her bare arms full of muscles. Between breaths, you can clearly see the abdominal muscles on her waist. Damn, Xiao Jingang has ruined the dreams of countless classmates. I wonder which man will have bad luck for the rest of his life and marry her as his wife in the future, Li Kaming cursed. Awesome. Fei Ming, you're a senior now, you've gotten fat, and your nerve has grown as well. You even dare to make fun of Overlord Xiao. Ha, Fei Ming, you've forgotten about the time you got beaten up by Overlord Xiao in your junior year, haven't you? I heard that he chased you around the playground. Pfft, you guys have some nerve. Monkey, weren't you blocked in the men's bathroom by that tomboy in your sophomore year? No way, that was Chubby. Fuck you, you son of a bitch, I was caught up in the crossfire while trying to save you. Hey, don't say it, have you noticed that it seems like the only person in our group who hasn't been touched by Xiao Ba Wang is Brother Cat? As the conversation progressed, Li Kaming noticed Luna in front of him and wanted to see what Brother Cat was doing. He discovered by accident that Wu Yi wasn't even looking at Luna, but was using his phone to check out Lan Meihan's appearance. Well, she should score at least 85 points. Wu Yi nodded solemnly. Brother Mao, Luna is leaving, Li Kaming reminded him. Wu frowned, and after a moment of thought, he grinned. He went back inside and opened the top drawer of his desk. What caught his eye was a new Huawei Mate 60, which he had bought with 2 months' wages from his part-time job and money from delivering food at night. Okay, Wu said to himself, and walked out of the dormitory. Chapter 10, Xiaosui's Shattered Worldview. Xiaosu had already changed into her dancing clothes and was twirling around in the dressing room. She looked at herself in the mirror several times and found that she was not sexy at all. The main reason was that her figure was not as impressive as Sophie's. She looked even worse in this outfit than she had in the previous one. Just as she was struggling with this, a voice came from behind her. Lulu, what are you doing? I can see that you haven't even turned off your live stream. Xiaosu, formerly known as Qin Xuanlu. She turned her head and saw her roommate and best friend, Shangguan Meimei. Shangguan Meimei had an unmistakable smile and excitement on her face. Qin Xianlu also laughed. What are you so happy about? Did you pass your thesis? Shangguan Meimei quickly went up to her and pulled her onto a stool. She looked around and whispered in her ear. 200,000. Qin Xianlu exclaimed. Keep your voice down, keep your voice down. Shangguan Meimei made a shushing gesture. Qin Xuanlu looked at Shangguan Mimi with a complex look in her eyes. In fact, when Shangguan Mimi went to the Gemini Hotel to apply for a special personal butler, she seriously advised her. One was worried that she would be cheated, and the other was that she felt at the time that there was nothing wrong with being down to earth and working as an ordinary person. But Shangguan Mimi said. At first, I thought Zhou Rui's words were pua, but after looking for a job for 2 months, the more I thought about it, the more I felt that since we have this capital of being young and beautiful, if there is a chance, why not strive for a better life? Qin Xuanlu didn't think so at the time, and even half an hour ago, she still didn't think so. At noon, she even persuaded Shangguan Mimi to think again. But now, she no longer thinks so. The reason for everything is that cat. Qin Xuanlu said a little embarrassed. Mimi, I'm actually also struggling with something right now, so why don't you help me with some advice? Inside the broadcast room, Xiaosuizi had already changed her clothes and returned to the screen, causing an exclamation of surprise in the broadcast room. The old fans couldn't believe that this was their usual host, Qin Xuanlu, and she hadn't changed into a dance costume. She was still wearing the same red dance costume. She had just taken off her jacket and folded her skirt once, turning it into a halter dress. She had put on a light gauze robe, and her fair shoulders and arms were faintly visible through the gauze. Together with her reapplied makeup, Xiaosuizi looked completely refreshed. The impression it gave to old fans was pure 30, charming plus 50, and sexy plus 50. In an instant, her Douyin account directly broke through 300,000 followers, and gifs of all sizes were flying around the broadcast room. There were even 99 private chats. A large part of them came from the union, which simply hoped that Xiaosu would join, and then package and train her, and together they would make money for the boss. Qin Xuanlu casually scrolled through the messages and ignored them all. The only one that caught her eye was the messy chat window with Cat. The message was still the last one she sent him, and there was no reply. Today was a very special day for her. One was that she had received more than 200 carnival messages, which meant that after deducting the platform's share, her income for the day was close to 350,000. She had just been envious of Meimei's 200,000, but then she changed clothes and came back to find that she had earned 350,000 herself? Did Brother Cat see nothing and just brush the air? She was full of confusion and conflict. Shangguan Mimi had just told him that it was likely that this Brother Cat wanted to ask her offline, and that he should be prepared for that. If he agreed, as long as it went well offline, Brother Cat would be your big brother forever. But if he didn't agree, today might be the last time. In fact, she was already prepared for the possibility that Brother Cat might ask her. But Cat went offline. He spent millions on gifts and left without even saying thank you? Qin Xuanlu suddenly felt a lump in her throat and a little like crying. Am I really that unattractive? At the school gate, Luna and a few others were waiting for the bus. After taking a few pretty pictures of herself, one of the girls asked, Nana, are we really going to Luhai Pavilion for dinner? It's very expensive there. The girl's name is Zhao Yaqian, Luna's university roommate of 4 years. She is of average appearance and body shape, but is very good at makeup, and has managed to squeeze herself into the ranks of the top 10 most beautiful female seniors this year thanks to her makeup. Zhao Yaqian is also regarded by everyone as a gold-digging woman, because she always talks about marrying only a billionaire. She has had several boyfriends in university, but almost all of her relationships ended quickly because the men were not rich enough. But unlike Luna, Zhao Yaqian is very independent in her actions. At a university party, after Zhao Yaqian played Chang'e and amazed all the boys on campus, it seemed that Zhao Yaqian had found her own path. So she relied on ancient costume live broadcasts and participated in various national style and classical conferences to gradually increase her popularity. As a result, she is now a host with 3 million followers. Her monthly income is already an unattainable figure for many recent graduates. Zhao Yaqian secretly despises Luna's behavior of using marriage as a ticket to wealth. Her values are that if you worship money, you have to worship it completely. First, you have to make yourself better and become outstanding, and then find someone who is really rich, even if you have to be a mistress. The result must be that you earn enough for a lifetime. Then you can slowly consider whether to marry an honest person. But why did the two of them get together? The reason is that Luna is very open-minded and has a good figure. Sometimes, when Luna is invited to appear on camera together, she always receives a lot of gifts. Another reason is that Zhao Yaqian is also very busy participating in various activities, and her major courses are very poor. When Luna asked Wu Yi to complete her graduation design and thesis, she also shamelessly borrowed some. Luna suddenly felt a little guilty when she heard Zhao Yaqian's question. After thinking about it, she picked a few newly taken sexy photos and sent them to her boyfriend Chen Hao. "Honey, am I beautiful today?" There was no response. Luna frowned. She could actually feel that her boyfriend's attitude towards her had recently become much worse. When they first met, if she sent a message, Chen Hao would definitely reply within 3 seconds. Maybe he was busy, Luna thought, and flipped through the previous chat history. It was last night when Chen Hao suddenly proposed to celebrate his birthday at Luhai Pavilion. Luhai Pavilion is one of the top membership restaurants in Lujiang City. It is said that a casual meal costs 3,000 to 4,000 yuan per person, and if they go as a dormitory, it will cost at least 30,000 yuan. Although Luna bragged every day that Chen Hao was a senior executive with an annual salary of several million yuan, she knew very well that the millions were actually just a company gimmick, and the main components were project bonuses and options. The actual salary was 50,000 yuan a month, and less than 30,000 yuan would be received. And the millions of dollars of glory was already 3 or 4 years ago. Nowadays, the global economy is in decline, and the gaming company's earnings are not as good as before. Although Luna doesn't know the details, she can tell from her usual spending that Chen Hao's situation must not be as good as it used to be. Thinking about this, she quickly sent Chen Hao another message. "Honey, are we really going to Luhai Court? Are all of your dorm mates coming?" This time, the response came quickly from the other side of the screen, but it was not an answer to the question. "Cute, come with everyone. Of course Nana will do a good job of covering for the old bus. You don't know, Lan Meihan is hard to please. If it weren't for the excuse of gathering together before graduation, she wouldn't even come." After replying, Zhao Yaqian glanced sideways at the expressionless Lan Meihan standing not far away, and a look of disdain and resentment appeared on her face. What she despised was that in her eyes, Lan Meihan had nothing to pretend to be good at. They were both women, and she was just trying to sell herself in another way. What she resented was that they were both well-known beauties at the same school, and Lan Meihan came from a very good family, so even the pursuit of many second-generation rich people driving luxury cars was not taken seriously by her. On the other hand, because of her poor and seriously patriarchal family, she could only use this way of pleasing men to get the life she wanted. "Nana is the best, yes, you can just come straight to Luhai Court." After receiving the reply, Luna let out a sneer that no one else could see, and then a look of smugness came back to her face. Yes, this is the life she wanted. She turned around and said, "My husband just sent me a message, asking us to take a taxi straight to Luhai Court now, and he'll be waiting for us there a little early." Zhao Yaqian's face revealed a trace of envy. "Nana, your husband is really good to you. I'll leave the stamp for my internship to you. It's no big deal. He listens to me." Zhao Yaqian smiled slightly. This was her ultimate goal. She didn't care about company executives with annual salaries of millions. Chapter 11. It seems to be only tens of thousands of dollars. Disgusting, smirking without a smile. Xiao Mumu sneered and cursed. Lan Meihan smiled faintly. "Don't say that, Yaqian is a smart girl." "Humph, she's smart." "Guagua, are we really going to Luna's birthday party? When did you and Luna become such good friends?" Xiao Mumu asked puzzledly. Guagua is Lan Meihan's nickname and also her online name. During their 3 years of university, the four of them in the dormitory had distinct camps. Luna's own group, Zhao Yaqian, was neutral and inclined towards Luna, and she and Lan Meihan were in the same group. Due to the sharp conflict in values, except for the beginning of their freshman year, they gradually stopped talking to each other. Except for things that had to be done as a group, the few of them actually couldn't play together at all. Lan Meihan's brows furrowed slightly as she said, yesterday she suddenly said that she was about to graduate and it was uncertain whether they would be able to get together in the future, so she cordially invited me to her birthday party, and I didn't want to refuse. Why didn't she invite me? What's with the graduation talk? She's just being a show-off, probably trying to brag about how rich her new boyfriend is, who earns millions a year. Sometimes I feel really sorry for Luna. Millions a year is a lot of money in her world. I really want to tell her that her boyfriend probably doesn't have as much as the house you live in. Mumu, don't be like that. She's right. After all, we've been roommates for over 3 years. Let's just part on good terms. Just then, a figure appeared in front of the group. Xiao Mumu looked at it and frowned. The owner of the figure was Wu Yi, who was holding a Huawei mobile phone. Her appearance still took Luna a little by surprise. Zhao Yaqian laughed out loud. In the 4 years of university, Luna's breakup scenes had happened no less than 80 times. She was used to it and immediately made room for the two of them. Luna frowned. Wu Yi was wearing a wrinkled, faded t-shirt. Luna's face showed her undisguised disgust. She sneered at Wu Yi, "We've already broken up, so can't you stop sticking to me like a mangy dog? I made it very clear yesterday, I already have a boyfriend, I don't want him to get the wrong idea." Wu Yi didn't say anything, and used the system to look up Luna. Name, Luna. Age, 23. Face value, 85. Body value, 91. Money desires, 83. Host's favorability rating, -35. Physical health, gynecological problems. Meanwhile, the system prompt sounded again. Name, Zhao Yaqian. Age, 23. Face value index, 88. Body shape index, 82. Money desire, 70. Host's favorability rating, -5. Physical health, healthy. Wu Yi looked at Zhao Yaqian in surprise. He didn't expect Zhao Yaqian to also meet the standards. It's just as well. Wu Yi smiled slightly and said to Luna, "Are you sick? I didn't come here for you." Luna glared at him. Wu Yi didn't say much else, and took out the banking app in his hand and handed it to Zhao Yaqian. He made a deep expression and said, "Yaqian, will you be my girlfriend? If you're my girlfriend, I can immediately transfer all this pocket money and my card to you." Zhao Yaqian was taken aback. He had originally wanted to watch the show, but it had somehow come back to burn him. Wu Yi grinned, he had never been so confident, and at the moment, he looked at Zhao Yaqian's eyes as if he were looking at Shangwan Mimi. The foundation given by the system, all species that serve money are scum in front of the system. Zhao Yaqian was again in a daze, and suddenly felt that the Wu Yi in front of her seemed different from before. She looked at Wu Yi's bank card, and there was more than 1.4 million in the card? Pocket money? Zhao Yaqian was slightly surprised. She knew that Wu Yi came from a poor family, so where did she get more than 1.4 million yuan in pocket money? Guagua, have you noticed that Wu Yi seems to be different from before? Xiao Mumu also noticed and said doubtfully. Yes, a bit. Lan Meihan had never even glanced at Wu Yi before, but today, she couldn't help but look at her twice. Wu Yi was displaying a kind of confidence that was rarely seen. She has only felt this kind of confidence when she has been in the business district and faced people who have been successful for many years. She has never seen a student with this kind of temperament before. Dog and woman. Luna's face was black and red, and she turned around and walked away directly. Just then, Zhao Yaqian's car stopped by the roadside, and Luna thought about it for a moment and got into the car. Wu Yi glanced at Luna's back and smiled, feeling an unprecedented sense of relief. With the system, everything is a ball. You have 10 seconds to think about it. As soon as Luna left, Wu Yi lost his patience and his tone turned cold. Zhao Yaqian was struggling with her emotions. She was a Guofeng model, and she needed to go from place to place and meet people, so she had gained experience from the various people she had met. Wu Yi wasn't joking. It was very likely that if she agreed to his terms, she would really get the 1.4 million. 1.4 million. Zhao Yaqian swallowed, and it was just agreeing to be his girlfriend, right? If I agree, I can just find any reason to break up with him. Isn't it better to get the 1.4 million first? Zhao Yaqian just wanted to speak, but then she heard the man's emotionless voice in her ear. Time's up. You're out of luck today. You've missed your chance. Hey, Wu Yi, I really wanted to say yes. I've liked you for a long time. Xiao Yaqian was anxious and quickly said. Wu Yi gave a cold smile. Don't think for so long next time. Who are you trying to fool with your like me for a long time? 5 like rating? You bastard. Xiao Yaqian stamped her feet a few times in anger. When did you two get together? As soon as Xiao Yaqian got into the car, Luna's questioning voice came over. My Nana, can't you see that he just wants to upset you? A poor loser, with a little money in his card, thinks he's so great. Xiao Yaqian's face was still a little red, and she said angrily. Nana, I think you need to be careful. Be careful of what? Be careful of Wu Yi? Luna froze for a moment. You're right, losers have a strong sense of revenge. I advise you to block him quickly, or he might take it out on your friends. No way, he doesn't seem like that kind of person. Are you stupid? In the past, it was because he liked you and thought he could have you. Can it still be the same as before? You have no idea. I just saw the way he looked at you, like he wanted to kill you. It's called hate born of love, you know? Luna's heart tightened. She didn't believe Wu Yi would do anything extreme, but she did have a big handle on Wu Yi. If Chen Hao knew. Although Luna didn't think Wu Yi would do anything, she still took out her phone and immediately blocked him on WeChat. Oh yeah, you just said that Wu Yi has a little money. How much does he have? Xiao Yaqian's eyes rolled. I didn't see it clearly either, but it seems to be tens of thousands of dollars. Chapter 12, The Blue Fairy Wants to Buy a Phone. Wu Yi. Wu Yi was about to leave when a pleasant voice came from behind him. He turned around and saw Lan Meihan and Xiaomumu. The crowd of people who had been eating melons and were about to disperse suddenly perked up. What's going on? Oh my god. Lan Meihan actually approached Wu Yi and spoke to him? You need to know that during the years at university, Lan Meihan was dubbed the Iceberg Beauty, and the main reason for this was that she almost never spoke to boys. Wu Yi himself was also very surprised. In the more than 3 years of university, he and Lan Meihan had never had any interaction. When he was dating Luna, he had to listen to Luna's jealous slander against Lan Meihan from time to time. This was because Luna was very jealous of Lan Meihan's seemingly good family background. The main reason was that Lan Meihan didn't even care about the rich second generation who pursued him by driving Lamborghinis and Ferraris. Then, when she was a junior, she moved out of the school to live on her own. It was said that her family had even bought her a house near the school for convenience. So for him, this kind of beautiful girl who grew up in the clouds was at most a topic of conversation after the lights went out in the dormitory. Moreover, there is a rumor that Lan Meihan has not found a boyfriend because she is probably a lesbian, and her partner is Xiaomumu, who is full of muscles but has a beautiful face. After all, in college, Xiaomumu has beaten up countless boys who have evil intentions towards Lan Meihan. Wu Yi's mind immediately conjured up the scene of Lan Meihan, who looks like a fairy, with a weak body lying in Xiaomumu's arms. He got goosebumps all over and took a big step back. Ding, found A-class beauty. Name, Lan Meihan. Age, 22. Face value index, 96. Body shape index, 85. Money desire, 11. Host's favorability, 0. Physical health, healthy. Ding, found A-class beauty. Name, Xiaomumu. Age, 21. Face value index, 90. Body type, 91. Money desire, 70. Host affinity, 20. Health, strain on left shoulder ligament. Oh. A 96 score for appearance, 1 point more than Pan Minmin. Wu Yi couldn't help but take a look at Lan Meihan. She was worthy of the system's score, and she was truly beautiful. The only pity was that the girl's face was always so cold. In fact, Pan Minmin also looked cold, but the coldness of the two was a completely different kind of cold. Lan Meihan's coldness carries a sense of distance that is a little innate. Whereas Pan Minmin is more like someone who is overwhelmed with everything, so exhausted both physically and mentally that she doesn't care about anything else. But for some reason, in comparison, he always feels that Pan Minmin is a little more attractive. Wu Yi couldn't help but think of the excitement of that night. Could this be the difference between having been happy and not having been happy? Wait, why does this King Kong Barbie have a face value of 90? Holy cow, a 91 body? Does the system not have standards for male and female bodies? Wooey swallowed and took a step back, saying, something wrong? What are you doing? Nothing, just moving around a bit. Lan Meihan frowned. Normally, when guys meet her, they can't wait to talk to her. What's with Wooey's reaction, with that wariness in his eyes? Is it because he was provoked by Lu Na that he's become woman-hating? No, he just confessed to Xiaosuizi. Ding, Lan Meihan's favorability +1. Wooey. Here, your phone, just dropped by Xiaosuizi. Xiaomumu handed over the phone that had just been dropped by Xiaosuizi. Her voice was delicate and a little bit of a clip, and if it weren't for the lines on her arms and the abs around her waist, it would be hard to imagine that he was actually a female diamond. Xiaomumu said with a hint of concern, since you've broken up, then you should take it easy. I don't think Xiaosuizi is even worthy of you. Wu Yi was surprised. He didn't expect these words to come from Xiaomumu's mouth. Lan Meihan looked at Xiaomumu's unnatural appearance, sighed a little, took Xiaomumu's hand, and said to Wu Yi with a smile, actually, Mumu is a very nice girl, super cute. Wu Yi's eyes widened, and she quickly took a step back, embarrassed, and said, yes, Mumu has always been very good. Xiaomumu's face showed a hint of disappointment, but soon it was replaced by an expression of complaint, Guagua, don't talk nonsense, look at how you scared her. Ha ha ha. Wu Yi smiled awkwardly and quickly turned to Lan Meihan to change the subject. What did you want to find me just now? Lan Meihan gave Xiaomumu a reproachful look and did not continue the conversation. Hearing Wu Yi's question, she pointed at the mobile phone in his hand and said, if you want to return this phone, can I buy it? Mobile phone? Wu Yi looked at the Huawei in his hand and then came to his senses. The new Huawei mobile phone had just been launched, so it was difficult to find one. If the store manager had not reserved one for him, he would not have been able to buy it. Lan Meihan's face turned slightly red with embarrassment. After all, Wu Yi had just broken up with her, and it seemed a bit inappropriate to ask her to buy him a phone at this time. But Huawei phones were really popular right now, and although he had already asked someone to buy one for him, it was better to have one ready. Lan Meihan blinked her stunningly beautiful eyes and said, I can buy it for you at the market price plus a markup. You paid 6,999 for the phone, so I'll pay 8,000. What do you think? Wu Yi looked at the phone in his hand and sighed. He was about to hand the phone to Lan Meihan when he suddenly thought of something. The phone slid through the air in an arc and was stuck in Xiaomumu's hand again. This is my last true heart, I give it to you. If you don't want it, just help me throw it away. After saying that, Wu Yi walked away without looking back, leaving Xiaomumu, who was holding the phone, looking surprised. Xiaomumu looked at the phone, and a blush gradually rose on her face. The system prompt sounded, ding, the system detected that the host is a beauty with a grade A or above, spending 6,999 yuan, and returning 13,998 yuan. More than 10 minutes later. By some strange coincidence, Wu Yi stood in Jinding Square. Jinding Square is the most luxurious square in Lujiang City, and almost all the top shops in the city are located here, including the main store of Luhai Pavilion in Lujiang. He didn't know why he had come here either. Perhaps it was because Luhai Pavilion was here. The balance of over 1 million yuan on his bank card gleamed. And while he was in the car, he had the idea of spending it all in revenge, but once he arrived here, he lost that idea. Spending it in revenge? How stupid would that be, and there's no rebate. Chapter 13, Seeing Sophie Again. Handsome guy, want to get a gym membership? Ding, detected a beauty with a grade of A or above. Name, Sophie. Age, 23. Beauty Index, 90. Body Index, 92. Money Desire, 55. Host Favorability, 0. Health, healthy. Wu Yi turned his head and his face froze. It was you. The girl in front of you is Sophie, the female fitness trainer who had a competition with Little Comb this afternoon. Sophie hadn't even changed out of her yoga clothes, and she was holding a stack of advertisements in her hands. No wonder she was offline, she had come to the street to drum up business. Wu Yi looked Sophie up and down without any reservations, slightly surprised. Apart from looking paler on the platform, Sophie's appearance had hardly changed at all. In other words, when Sophie went live, she probably used a camera close to the original one. Looking at her figure again, it was indeed just as he had imagined when watching the live broadcast. Sophie's figure is incredibly explosive, with a height of nearly 1.7 meters, a sizable bust, slender legs, and a slender and supple waist. A gentle bend can trigger endless reverie. Especially the yoga clothes perfectly accentuate her curves. Ding, Sophie's favorability -10. The system's prompt sounded, and Wooey realized that he had been staring at someone's face for a long time. You know me? Sophie was puzzled for a moment. What a coincidence, I just happened to see you playing against Combe. The boss gave you 150 carnival points, and you still need to go out and drum up business? You don't have any money, do you? Since you're a fan, why don't you get a card and support us? Sophie felt a little embarrassed. She owed a large sum of money, and although the boss had given her a large sum, it wasn't every day that the boss did that, and she still had to work. She regretted saying it as soon as it came out of her mouth, because she had noticed the slightly faded, cheap t-shirt on Wooey. How could someone like this afford a gym membership? Wooey looked up, and coincidentally, behind him, a large sign for a gym called RGS Aerobic Club was just in front of him. Ding, Sophie's favorability -10. Wooey. Sophie, senior personal trainer at RGS Aerobic Club, specializes in yoga, fat loss, muscle building, etc. RGS is a high-end gym on Lujian Island. Located on the 38th floor of the Jinning building, the gym not only contains all kinds of advanced fitness, swimming and recreational facilities, but also an indoor heated swimming pool with a panoramic view of Lujiang. So, not to mention anything else, the annual fee for the general fitness room alone is as high as 6,000 yuan a year, which is far higher than the cost of an ordinary gym. Hey! Sophie shrugged her shoulders and sighed, wondering why she was so unlucky. She had been standing here for an hour, and at least 20 or 30 men had come up to her, but none of them had bothered to sign up for a membership. She had finally made the first move, but the guy turned out to be a poor student. Although she cursed him mentally, she had to introduce the gym to him with a forced smile. Yes, our RGS Aerobic Club has blah blah blah. The annual fee is 6,000, the quarterly card is 2,800, and private lessons are extra. She just wanted to get rid of the loser in front of her as quickly as possible. She casually mentioned the content of the gym and then began to focus on introducing the fees. In fact, this tactic has never failed her, and most people just slink away when they hear the price. Wooey saw Sophie's expression and knew what she was thinking. She laughed and said, I have 2 questions. Huh? Sophie was a little surprised and subconsciously asked, what are they? But as soon as she opened her mouth, she regretted it a little. Isn't this the usual pickup line? If I apply for a card, can I put it in your name? Sophie. Wooey smiled and asked the second question, can I take you out to dinner after I apply for the card? Ding, Sophie's favorability -30. Trying to pick me up? Sophie's mouth curled up slightly, and she opened the payment code on her phone and said, young man, you want to take me out to dinner? You know, if I do a live broadcast, it'll be like hundreds of carnivals worth of income. Not to mention that, can you give me 10 carnivals to show me your strength? Ha, Wooey laughed. Sophie's speech always had a playful flavor, making people feel happy. Compared to sending gifts to the invisible streamer on the screen, he still preferred this way of seeing someone in person. Wooey immediately took out his phone and quickly scanned 30,000 yuan. Ding, found that the host is a beauty with an A-level rating or above, spending 30,000 yuan and getting a cashback of 60,000 yuan. Sophie was full of surprise, and this gave her a whole lot of trouble. This was just an internet meme, and she never would have thought that someone would actually transfer money to her. Let's go, shall we eat? Wooey looked at Sophie's slightly dazed and delicate face, and he almost couldn't resist the urge to pinch her. There are so many beautiful women in the world, and he really was blind in the past. Sophie was a little flustered and quickly said, that, right, didn't you say you wanted to get me a card? Let's go eat after we get the card. Sophie was so nervous that she even acted like a rascal. However, it was the way Wooey liked to act up. Wooey raised his eyebrows and dangled his bank card between his fingers. Let's go, get the card. Sophie was at a loss for words. Really? Really, but it'll be in your name. 26th floor of the Jinning building, Wooey followed Sophie on a brief tour of the gym. The RGS Aerobic Club is truly the top gym on Lujian Island. The entire environment is elegant and spacious, and the design of the gym is very aerobic and intelligent. As soon as you enter, a fresh and vibrant atmosphere greets you, making you feel as if you have immediately entered a world of health and vitality. The entire floor of the gym is about 1,000 square meters, and all kinds of equipment and facilities are available. Whether it's the strength training area or the aerobic exercise area, the yoga room or the dance room, they are all designed to be both practical and aesthetically pleasing. In the equipment area, dumbbells, barbells, treadmills and other equipment are neatly arranged, and they have been divided into beginner and professional fitness areas, perfectly solving the different needs at different stages. The aerobic exercise area is fully equipped with treadmills, spinning bikes and other equipment, and they are all equipped with professional displays, so you can view exercise data and watch entertainment programs in real time. This equipment is complete enough. Wu Yi praised. Oh? Do you usually work out, or just exercise? Out of habit as a fitness instructor, Sophie glanced at Wu Yi's arms and calves. There was no trace of having exercised. Wu Yi also said frankly, no, I can't say I've exercised at all. I just have a classmate who loves working out. The photos she posts every day in her circle of friends look like they're in a much worse environment than here. Wu Yi didn't have the heart to say that she hadn't exercised for a long time, and those few hours with Pan Minmin last night were probably the most intense exercise she had done in the past year. Sophie said that the environment can actually bring a person a more pleasant mood and some convenience before and after exercising, which is a bonus. If you are really a fitness enthusiast, you can do it anywhere. Like that prisoner workout abroad? Sophie was slightly surprised that you know about prisoner fitness and say you haven't understood it. Ha, it was also posted in the circle of friends of my classmate. College students don't have that much money to go to the gym. Wu Yi shrugged his shoulders and unabashedly shot his gaze at Sophie's figure walking in front of him on the right. A thin waist, a perky butt, a six-pack, and an overall graceful sense of curves. Sophie's figure is simply the perfect figure that ordinary girls would pursue, and he couldn't help but think of Xiaomumu for comparison again. This motherfucker, I can't imagine. Chapter 14, then let's do it for 100 years. Are you really going to apply for a membership? After a round of introductions, Wu Yi and Sophie sat in a meeting room, with a contract for membership on the table. After a brief chat, Sophie clearly noticed that Wu Yi was not a fitness audience at all. Her eyes kept scanning Wu Yi's pale clothes. Then a trace of surprise appeared on her face. She hadn't noticed before, but sitting closer to her, she noticed that Wu Yi was wearing Armani's new high-top mesh sneakers. She couldn't tell about the pants, but they looked new. But how could someone wearing thousands of dollars worth of Armani shoes be wearing such an outfit? Sophie was full of confusion. This was the first time she had seen such a mix of rich and poor attire, and she couldn't tell at all whether this person was rich or poor. Various scenarios flashed through her mind, and in the end she settled on a cliché one. It is likely that this person is a student who has taken money from home and is trying to look rich. But the money he took was not much, probably only a few tens of thousands, so he could only afford to buy himself a pair of shoes he has longed for. But the student's worldview is not sound, thinking that a few tens of thousands is a lot, so he took a few tens of thousands of dollars to the street to pick up girls? In order to have dinner with her, the man in front of her may have almost emptied the money in his bank card. What do you think? Wu Yi sat carelessly, revealing a playful expression. Sophie frowned and advised. Although you are good-looking, you are not my type, so don't waste your time. By the way, the 30,000 yuan was just a joke. Give me your payment code and I'll give it back to you. Ha? Are you kidding? If you give me my money back, won't I immediately lose 30,000 yuan? Wu Yi leaned back and said with a hint of mockery, as agreed, it's an appearance fee. You don't want to back out, do you? I'm stunned. Who's backing out? Besides, this isn't a competition, is it? Sophie was a little angry. Why was this man so ungrateful? Let me tell you, sister, my monthly income plus the rewards from Douyin is 40,000 to 50,000 yuan, and I'm always broke every month. You want to chase me? First, feel your own pocket to see if you're worthy. Hey, let me feel it. Wu Yi took out the bank card from his pocket again, then nodded solemnly and looked at Sophie and said, I've already checked, and my bank card tells me that we should be a good match. How about I give you another 20 carnival tickets? Wu Yi paused for a moment and said again, but I have one bad habit, I only like to spend money on women, I don't like to chase after them. Sophie was at her wit's end. Where the hell did this fucking king of pushy guys come from? If you're really rich, can you replace the old and worn out clothes on you and put on new ones? Sophie's face was dark. She felt that if she didn't do something drastic, this guy would never go away. She stood up and looked at Wu Yi with a half smile, saying, trying to pick me up? Playing that game of boosting my sales performance and then asking me out to dinner to see if you can trick me into going to a hotel and having fun? Sophie clenched her fists, making a sound as her bones rubbed together. You didn't ask why someone would reward me with 150 carnival points and I still have to go out on the street to solicit customers. I'll tell you, last month there was also a loser like you. I was so angry that I broke 3 of his ribs. And another time, an old man tried to grope me in the car, so I got so angry that I smashed his car. So I'm in debt up to my ass, and I think you'd better not be presumptuous. Oh? What car? A Maybach. A smile appeared at the corner of Wu Yi's mouth. Your script is pretty good, why didn't I think of that? Why don't you smash a poison car or something, so I can help you pay off a debt? Aren't you at least going to repay me with your body? You. Sophie looked at Wu Yi's smile and her anger flared up. But despite what she said, she really didn't dare to do anything rash. Last month, she impulsively broke 3 ribs and made her pay a lot of money, which caused her to be in debt. Xiaosuizi, what's wrong? At that moment, a man with muscles all over his body pushed the door open. The man was covered in sweat, and it was obvious that he had just stopped exercising. Tang Jiawei, the manager and majority shareholder of the GSE Aerobic Fitness Club, normally would not get involved in sales conversations. But Sophie's voice had risen, and he had been forced to come and take a look. As the star trainer at the club, Sophie naturally attracted a bunch of men who came to chat up her instead of exercising. But Tang Jiawei wasn't there to help Sophie. Last month, Sophie broke 2 ribs on impulse, and the incident was still fresh in her mind. Fortunately, the surveillance cameras showed that the customer had some inappropriate movements, so in the end, with the help of the customer's lawyer, the person who was beaten was forced to choose to pay compensation to settle the matter quietly, otherwise Sophie would still be in the police station. Therefore, the fact that he rushed over so quickly was actually to protect this customer. Sophie didn't know what to say for a moment. She was a little embarrassed to say that the man had given her 30,000 yuan to treat him to dinner. But Tang Jiawei just casually asked, what else could it be? He sat directly in the other chair, took the contract from Sophie's hands, and asked in a routine manner, Sir, are you here to apply for our gym membership? Wu Yi nodded solemnly, of course, I have always admired SGC's fitness philosophy, so I would love to work out here, but this beautiful woman doesn't seem to want me to sign up, and keeps hoping I will leave. You're talking nonsense. Sophie stood up again in an instant. She really wanted to punch this guy, he was so annoying. Fei, the person wants to sign up. What are you doing? Go, get the guest a bottle of water. Tang Jiawei was helpless and quickly stopped Sophie. Humph. Sophie was so angry that she didn't even bother to get the water. She just sat down, took her own ton kettle and slurped the water, making a loud noise. Ha ha. The more so, the more Wu Yi felt that Sophie was really cute. Tang Jiawei didn't say anything either. He had just come in and saw the old and worn-out clothes on Wu Yi. He didn't have a good attitude towards people who were probably here to cause trouble. He pushed the contract forward and said to Wu Yi, Mr. Wu, right? Our gym fees for this quarter are 2,800, and for the year it's 6,000. You see how many years it is? We have a benefit here, which is that if you pay for 2 years at once, you can get a quarter free. How many years? Wu Yi crossed his legs and swung them, looking at Sophie and saying, Coach Su, how many years do you think it's appropriate for me to pay for? If you're so rich, then just do it for 100 years, Sophie said impatiently. Wu Yi smiled slightly. Okay, if you say so, then let's do it for 100 years. Sophie sprayed a mouthful of water directly, spilling it all over Tang Jiawei, who was standing directly in front of her, and was completely dumbfounded. 10 minutes later. Ding, found that the host is a beauty with an A-level rating or above, spending 100,000 yuan, and getting a 200,000 cashback. Chapter 15, if a few 100,000 isn't enough, just spend another one. Tang Jiawei's attitude had undergone a 18,000-degree change, and his face was filled with a bright smile. Brother, this is your lifetime diamond card at our club. Do you want to keep it at the club or take it with you? Of course, I feel that it doesn't matter whether you take the card or not, as you are the only lifetime member of our club. Of course it was just a joke about 100 years. Tang Jiawei, as the majority shareholder and store manager, finally gave the final approval, and as long as Wu Yichong paid 100,000 yuan, he would be a lifetime member of the club. He himself didn't know if his club could even last for more than a decade. Wu Yi took the card, glanced at it, and then handed it to Sophie, saying, Since the card is in your name, you can keep it. Sophie took the card awkwardly and nodded slightly, as if she hadn't quite reacted yet. Tang Jiawei glanced at Sophie and grinned. He said to Wu Yi, "Brother, since you've already got a lifetime gym membership, why not consider some personal training sessions with our coach Sophie?" Wu Yi shrugged and said, "Of course I'm happy to support you, but I'm afraid I'll break 3 ribs if I do." Tang Jiawei saw this and a sly smile appeared on his face. He winked at Wu Yi, as if to say, "I understand." Then, he said to Sophie in a serious tone, "Sophie, what are you doing? Why don't you quickly clear up the misunderstanding for Brother Wu and introduce your classes?" Sophie finally blushed when she heard what Tang Jiawei said. Tang Jiawei's meaning was clear to her. He was simply asking her to make a small sacrifice, so that Wu Yi could hold private lessons more easily. This was nothing unusual in the usual sales process. But today, she had a strong desire to refuse. Tang Jiawei had no idea that Wu Yi had just paid her 30,000 yuan for her appearance, and now he had also bought an unbelievable lifetime fitness card. She felt that the whole nature of the situation was no longer simply about opening a card and holding lessons. Sophie saw Wu Yi in front of her as if he had turned into a wicked young master, crossing his legs, throwing the renminbi in his hand around arrogantly, waiting for her to take the initiative to sit in his arms. Now, the choice was in her hands. This. Mr. Wu. Sophie's expression was struggling. Tang Jiawei was a little displeased with Sophie. "Didn't you forget how much trouble you caused the gym last month? The customer is right in front of you." Looking at Sophie's agonizing expression, Wu Yi waved his hand and said, "Don't make it difficult for her. It hurts me to watch. No need for an introduction, just do it." Sophie? Ding, found that the host is a beautiful woman above level A, spending 120,000 yuan, cashback 240,000, and the balance on the card is 1,673,762 yuan. Sophie. Tang Jiawei. Sophie is a senior fitness trainer with numerous fitness certificates, so her personal training session is 600. Generally, class packages are divided into 10, 20, 50, and 100 sessions. Buying a large package of 50 or 100 sessions will get you a discount. But this man in front of me didn't ask a single question, and he even bought 200 sessions directly. Tang Jiawei, the majority shareholder and manager of the GSC Aerobic Fitness Club, whose father is the chairman of the board of directors of Qinggu Light Industry, with a market value of over 3 billion. He is essentially considered a local second-generation rich kid from Luzhou, but because he was not on good terms with his father, he ran away and opened this gym with some other second-generation rich kids, barely considered a startup. Tang Jiawei is surrounded by many local second-generation rich kids, but he has never seen one of them spend 220,000 yuan in a single transaction at an ordinary gym? Is this something a normal person could do? You don't think I run a gym like a club, do you? Brother, no, Mr. Wu, you are really generous, supporting Faye so much. He subconsciously looked at Sophie. It seemed that he wanted an answer from Sophie. Where did he bring back this big shot from? Sophie was even more at a loss. She could not understand the actions of the man in front of her at all. How could a normal person go to a gym and get a lifetime card, and then spend hundreds of thousands of dollars at a time to buy 200 private lessons? He wouldn't do that anyway. Seeing the strange look Tang Jiawei threw at her, Sophie's face flushed red. She wanted to punch Tang Jiawei in the face. What kind of look was that? Is that what kind of person I am? I have nothing to do with him, okay? At this time, Wu Yi sat on the chair, looking at the system, and didn't even look at the eye contact between Tang Jiawei and Sophie. It was just a matter of spending money, so it didn't matter what Tang Jiawei and Sophie were thinking. Should we go eat? Wu Yi suggested that it was time to eat. She hadn't eaten much lunch today because she had been so distracted by Luna's incident, and now she was feeling a little peckish. Eat? Sophie woke up from her daydream. She had already forgotten what it was like at the beginning of all this. What, do you not think the class bag is enough? How about another 200? Wu Yi grinned. Ding, host, please note, Sophie's desire for money has temporarily dropped to 20. If you force Sophie to spend it this time, the system will not refund. Wu Yi. Sophie was full of black lines and shouted. No, just eat, wait for me, I'll go change. Wu Yi smiled sheepishly. It's a good thing you didn't say you wanted it. Ding, Sophie's favorability has increased by 80. Sophie's favorability suddenly jumped from -50 to 30, which is already a score at the level of best friends. Wu Yi smiled, he wasn't surprised at all. Wu Xiao, you're good at playing games. Tang Jiawei handed Wu Yi a bottle of water and smiled. Mr. Tang is just joking. I just want to get a gym membership. Ha, this guy is my type, but Sophie is not that easy to get. A second-generation guy before me sent flowers and gifts, and rewarded her every day in the live broadcast room. He spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, but in the end, Sophie even refunded his money. Wu Yi smiled slightly and played games. There is a saying, nothing can't be solved with 648. If you find that it can't be solved, just charge it again. The same goes for girls. If you spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and still can't get her, don't say anything about incompatible values or being difficult. I think the ultimate reason is that you didn't spend hundreds of thousands of dollars again. Look, I already said that I would give her another 200 sessions, but she didn't even want that and just wanted to go to dinner with me. I feel like I've earned it. Earned it? You spent more than 200,000 yuan on dinner with a fitness trainer? What a terrible thing to say. Tang Jiawei opened his mouth, but in the end he gave a thumbs up instead. Wu Xiao doesn't look like a local, let's add our contact information and hang out sometime. My family owns Qinggu Light Industry, and the gym is just a small side business I'm running. In order to avoid being looked down upon, Tang Jiawei quickly introduced himself. Someone who owns a gym is not someone you want to be friends with. Wu Yi smiled slightly. In fact, when he got the system yesterday, he already had a line prepared. He took out his phone and added Tang Jiawei as a contact. He said, I'm from Xingchuan, and I'm currently a senior at Lujian University. My family gave me some money to prepare to make some investments. Chapter 16 Interesting Socialite. Investments? Tang Jiawei's eyes lit up. What industries does Wu Xiao plan to invest in? How big is the scale? Wu Yi shook his head. The economy is in a serious downturn right now, and I don't have a clue. I only recently got a little money from my family, and I'm afraid to be too casual, in case it fails. You should know. A little money? A family investment task? Tang Jiawei froze for a moment, and Wu Yi's status in his heart suddenly improved from being a second generation with a little money. Family tasks are not uncommon in the second generation circle, but the amount of capital represents the difference between second generation and second generation. For example, when he founded the GSE Aerobic Fitness Club, his father gave him 20 million yuan to start the business when he graduated. But even now, even though the GSE Club has a valuation of nearly 200 million yuan, he could never spend 200,000 yuan on a girl at the gym like Wu Yi did. This is just the beginning. How much does this little bit have to be able to spend like this? I understand, brother, you're awesome. If there's any good opportunities, remember to introduce them to me too. Younger brother, why are you alone? At that moment, a delicate voice came from somewhere. Wu Yi looked up and saw that there was a fashionable woman next to him. She was about 1.65 meters tall. She was wearing a light green short dress with a deep V neckline, and she was holding an LV Onthego handbag, which was a new model this year. Her body still smelled fresh from the shower, and she must have just finished working out. No, there were two of them. Wu Yi glanced at Tang Jiawei, who was sitting next to him. Tang Jiawei grinned, stood up, gave a look that said please ignore me and walked towards the bar. In fact, a large part of the members of high-end fitness clubs are these celebrities who dress up every day. On the one hand, they want to keep fit, and on the other, naturally, they want to see if they can hook some sucker. The original meaning of celebrity was a woman from high society. But nowadays, those who use the celebrity label are not real celebrities, and which celebrity would be stupid enough to come up with such a name? Nowadays, the term celebrity is often used to refer to women with a certain level of beauty and figure, in order to facilitate resource sharing. They then use these shared resources to package themselves as beautiful and wealthy women to attract men, and then spend the money on themselves, fulfilling their dream of turning from Cinderella into a white swan. A high-end gym is a place for high-quality fishing. The story of a local tyrant charging 220,000 yuan in the gym spread like wildfire. This girl in front of him was obviously the first pathfinder to come sniffing for money. For Tang Jiawei, this was originally a matter of mutual consent. Everyone is an adult, and it is your ability to take away the girl, or take away the handsome guy. As for what to do after taking it away, as long as you don't take it to another gym, it's your business. And Wu Yi faintly responded. He was originally somewhat interested in the way the girl looked, but after discovering that the system did not prompt him, this interest was immediately extinguished. The girl in front of him was similar to those in the bar. Looking at her figure and makeup, she was indeed quite good-looking, but the system ruthlessly revealed her true face, which was that her overall appearance did not reach 85. There were so many beautiful women in the world waiting for him to discover and develop. He didn't want to waste his time on such a tool that couldn't be used to make money. Seeing Wu Yi's attire, the girl also froze for a moment, her face showing an expression of disbelief. She immediately looked at Tang Jiawei. Tang Jiawei frowned. As a true second generation, surrounded by real second and third generation women, he simply looked down on these pretentious fake socialites. But unfortunately, he is now the owner of the gym, and while these fake socialites use the gym to catch a rich guy, they do add a lot of revenue to the gym. He smiled helplessly at Wu Yi and could only introduce, Miss Xiao, this is Mr. Wu. Zhao Ruyue, 27 years old, a key member of the Lujiang socialite circle, has been hanging out with the second generation for years. She has just broken up with her last sucker and is currently in urgent need of a new one to cover the huge expenses in her daily life. Hearing Tang Jiawei's words, Zhao Ruyue was confused for a moment, but then immediately switched to a sweet smile. The circle of second-generation rich kids is already full of all kinds of people. Who knows if this is the trendy down and out style that's been trending lately? The slap in the face, show-off style? Whatever the style, as long as the person is right. Zhao Ruyue sat directly next to Wu Yi, put her hand on the armrest of the chair, supported her side face and struck a graceful pose, tilting just a little. Young handsome guy, do you want to invite me to dinner? I'm much more interesting than that little brat Sophie. The deep V-neckline, coupled with the woman's cooperation, Wu Yi only slightly tilted his eyes, taking in the magnificent view. In terms of flirtatiousness, Zhao Ruyue is indeed much more interesting than the inexperienced Sophie. Unfortunately, the system doesn't want you. But since she's here, it's not a bad way to pass the time. Wu Yi smiled. He leaned slightly closer to Zhao Ruyue and reached out to pinch her chin. Interesting? How interesting? Wu Yi smiled slightly. You can be as interesting as you like, sister is very good at it. Zhao Ruyue not only did not feel disgusted by Wu Yi's inappropriate behavior, but instead she smiled happily, her eyes flirtatiously gleaming. How about we go have some fun right now? There's a special VIP room in the gym here, and I know ancient massage techniques that will relax you. Shall we eat after that? Wu Yi flinched back, avoiding Zhao Ruyue's hand, which she had meant to place on his thigh, and grinned. No, I still find Coach Su more interesting. Zhao Ruyue was taken aback. She almost thought she had succeeded. But after thinking about it, she immediately felt relieved. How could she not do anything when the other person had spent more than 200,000 yuan on Sophie? She put on a pitiful expression on her face. Oh, you're breaking my sister's heart when you say that. Never mind, why don't we add each other on WeChat and make another appointment next time? Zhao Ruyue took out her phone and opened WeChat, which was her ultimate goal for the day. It's okay, there's plenty of time. Miss Xiao, you're not going to practice half group? Wu Yi opened the QR code on her WeChat and was about to add a friend when a pale hand covered the screen of her phone. Sophie had quickly walked over to the sofa, grabbed Wu Yi's phone in one hand, and looked expressionlessly at Zhao Ruyue. She had already changed out of her yoga clothes and was wearing a red and white Nike tracksuit, with a Nike cap on her head. Her hair was tied up in a high ponytail, giving her a very sporty and playful look. Chapter 17 Not Impossible. Hey, isn't this Su Mimi? Is this handsome guy also one of your clients? Zhao Ruyue smiled elegantly and asked knowingly. Sophie usually didn't get along with her very well, and often advised her clients not to get involved with her or anything. So her appearance meant that she was out of the question. The cardinal rule for a celebrity is not to waste time on one tree. Sophie was superior to her in terms of looks and figure, and as long as Sophie didn't want it, it would be quite difficult to snatch someone away from her. And even if Wu Yichong spent more than 200,000 yuan in her eyes, he was at most an ordinary high-quality man, and she had not yet reached the point where she had to compete with someone for a man. So she also said very plainly, it seems I don't have a chance for now, little brother, let's go out again if there's a chance. Zhao Ruyue's hand lightly brushed past Wu Yi's shoulder, leaving a trace of fragrance. I have to say, this girl really knows how to flirt. Wu Yi's heart fluttered as he looked back and took a second look. Unfortunately, he didn't add her to WeChat. What are you looking at? Let me tell you, this woman specializes in making men spend money on her, so be careful, your little bit of money won't be enough when she's finished scamming you. Sophie looked at Wu Yi with displeasure. Wu Yi laughed, okay, but I want to correct you, I don't only have a little money in my account. Sophie raised her eyebrows. What? Do you want me to go get her back for you? Let's have dinner together. You guys go to a hotel, okay? Really, that would be great. You want a beating, don't you? Ha ha. Wu Yi laughed, spread his hands, and made a gesture to go. Wu Xiao, if you have time, let's hang out together. By the way, Sophie is the #1 goddess at our gym. As Wu Yi prepared to leave, Tang Jiawei gave him a knowing look. Sophie splashed water on her face in the bathroom for a long time until it cooled down, and her face turned red again. Shut up, or I'll make him drop the class. She yelled at Tang Jiawei, and Sophie quickly grabbed Wu Yi's wrist and fled from the gym. When they reached the ground floor of the Jinding building, Sophie rubbed her face, glared at the 26th floor, and cursed Tang Jiawei. As soon as she turned her head, she saw Wu Yi's surprised expression. Sophie gave a little laugh and said, "What are you looking at? This is how I've always been since I was little. I'm not like those women in those short videos who keep saying, brother this and brother that. So, what? Do you regret wasting your money on me?" Wu Yi smiled slightly. In fact, interesting souls are rare. For ordinary men, someone like you is more attractive than those mediocre women. Sophie was speechless. Although she knew that Wu Yi was just talking nonsense, her heart still skipped a beat. She is also a young girl who fantasizes about a white horse love, but she just can't look at those middle-aged uncles who are full of thoughts of wanting him to be their third wife as soon as they get a little money. She also can't accept young men whose income is not as good as her own, so she has always been single. But if it was the man in front of her, it was obvious that the man in front of her was no longer the same person as the one from half an hour ago. Half an hour ago, the man in front of her was a poor student who was still pretending to be rich despite his old and worn clothes. Now, although Wu Yi was still old and worn, his label had been changed to that of a handsome, sunny, and slightly mischievous rich young man. It's not impossible. Sophie's face broke into a bashful smile, and then she happily said, "Okay, since you took such good care of my business today, I'll treat you to dinner. Just tell me what you want to eat, and don't be shy." Wu Yi smiled and said, "I'll have whatever you want, but you have to change the way you address me. The girls around me all call me Brother Cat." "You wish." Sophie put her hands on her hips and said, "You're obviously younger than me, and you want to be called brother? Wait. What did you say?" Sophie's face turned into a look of disbelief. "No need to doubt, it's what you think." Wu Yi took out his phone, and the ID and avatar of Midnight Cat were displayed in front of Sophie. The young man in front of her was actually the godlike cat who had played over 300 games of Carnival in the afternoon? Sophie was a little dumbfounded. "After a long time," she said, "you are the most difficult to retain godlike." "The most difficult to retain godlike?" Wu Yi froze for a moment. What kind of title is this? Sophie took out her phone and opened the platform interface, displaying a group name. "The most difficult to retain godlike hero, Cat Brother Discussion Group." There's such a group? Wu Yi awkwardly touched his nose, and probably guessed the meaning of the group. "It was just created last night, and I joined it this afternoon. The group is full of broadcasters you have gifted." "Sweat, what's the point of joining?" Wu Yi glanced again, and there were actually more than 40 people in the group. "How come I don't remember gifting so many people these past 2 days?" Sophie giggled. Of course it was to discuss how to keep the god-level player. "Hey, did you come to any conclusions?" Sophie lowered her head as soon as she heard this. The group's final conclusion was that the best way to keep Cat Brother was to parachute in. For this, she had even gone crazy in the group, spamming a few shameless anchors. Unexpectedly, it was only a short while later that she was actually accompanying Cat Brother to dinner. Sophie was too shy to know what to say. For a moment, the two walked in silence, one in front of the other. Wu Yi smiled and looked at the system. Name, Sophie. Age, 23. Face value, 90. Body value, 92. Money desire, 45. Host affinity, 30. Health, healthy. His eyes lit up. Oh. Sophie's money desire has suddenly gone back to 45, so it seems that the impact of the recharge just now wasn't too great. What Wu Yi didn't know was that he could only get a commission if he took a gym class. Even if he charged 200 classes, he would only earn it for the gym, and it would be a long time before the instructor got a commission for 200 classes. So for Sophie, it was just a momentary excitement that caused her money desire to drop, and after she calmed down, the desire came back. 10 minutes later. The two stood not far from the main entrance of Luhai Pavilion. We are going to eat here? Sophie looked at the sign for Luhai Pavilion with a face full of confusion. How could she not know about the famous Luhai Pavilion when she worked at Jinding? Although Luhai Pavilion was not as good as those top-notch Michelin-starred private kitchens, it was the ceiling for ordinary restaurants. It was said that a casual meal for two would cost almost 6,000 to 7,000 yuan. Not to mention that she was now heavily in debt. Even before that, with her monthly income of tens of thousands of yuan, she could not afford to spend in such a place. Is this guy trying to get back at me? Sophie gave Wu Yi a hard look, but immediately deflated. I almost forgot, this guy is Brother Cat. Can someone else's 6,700 be the same as your 6,700? Chapter 18, Who Eats a House with Their Meal? Seeing Sophie's expression, Wu Yi felt funny inside, but said nonchalantly on her face, You don't like this restaurant? I heard that the food is passable. Passable? I think you really need a beating. Sophie rolled her eyes, but after all, she had just made a grandiose statement, so she couldn't go back on it. She shook her phone. I just searched it, but this restaurant is no good. There are a lot of bad reviews. Don't look at how expensive it is, it's actually not very tasty. Really? Really? Wu Yi nodded seriously. It's okay, you're treating anyway, and I've never eaten here before, so let's try how hard it is to eat here today. Sophie. Wu Yi made a pensive face. If you call me Brother Cat 3 times, I'll consider changing restaurants. Sophie rolled her eyes. This man is really petty, waiting for her here. But she's still very down to earth, because a little appeasement can save thousands of dollars. Brother Cat. Brother Cat. Brother Cat, let's go to a nice restaurant. I know a good buffet nearby. Puff, ha ha ha. Wu Yi couldn't help but laugh a little. In view of the fact that you called so nicely, I've thought it over and we'll eat at this restaurant. You. Sophie felt cheated and was so angry that she wanted to kick Wu Yi. How can you go back on your word? Wu Yi laughed, turned around, put his arm around Sophie's shoulders, and led her to Luhai Pavilion. Come on, I can't really let a beautiful woman treat me. This meal is on me. Let's go and see how bad his food really is. Sophie's body trembled, and she knocked away the hand that Wu Yi had placed on her shoulder. She pouted in defiance. What, do you look down on me? Just now, a certain pig offered me 30,000 to make an appearance, and I don't believe it, 30,000 can't even buy me a meal at Luhai Court. Sophie angrily tilted her head and walked towards Luhai Court on her own. Wu Yi pinched her hand, smiled, and followed her. As soon as they entered the door, the two were immediately impressed by the restaurant's decor. The decor of the Luhai Go was in a typical Chinese style, featuring mahogany furniture and carefully carved screens. The lighting in the restaurant was soft, and the background music was light and pleasant, creating a warm and comfortable atmosphere. The most eye-catching thing was the restaurant's waiters and waitresses. The male waiters were dressed in neat white uniforms, and each one of them looked handsome and dashing. While the female waitresses wore a uniform red cheongsam, highlighting the elegance and femininity of Oriental women. Wu Yi was surprised to discover that almost all the waitresses seemed to be close to 1.7 meters tall, and they were all good-looking. The handsome men and beautiful women simply added a special feeling to the whole restaurant. Unfortunately, the system didn't give any hints, which meant that none of these waitresses had a rating above A. Subconsciously, he turned his head and glanced at Sophie's delicate and somewhat cute face. He nodded slightly. Although these waitresses were quite outstanding, they still had some gaps compared to Sophie. A product of the system is bound to be a quality product. Wu Yi looked around. The only thing that was a bit strange was that although it was dinner time, there weren't many people eating in the restaurant, and less than a third of the seats were occupied. Sophie felt a little awkward, as this was her first time dining at the Luhai Pavilion. She looked at the casual tracksuit she was wearing and compared it to the elaborate outfits of the other diners in the restaurant. She subconsciously took off her hat and let her high ponytail down over her shoulders. She felt that her tracksuit seemed particularly out of place in this environment. If I had known I was going to be here for dinner, I would have gone home and changed and put on some makeup. Really, I'll feel bad taking a selfie. Sophie thought angrily. Wu Yi's expression was calm, and if it were before, he would be nervous to come to this kind of place. But now Carrie has more than 1,000,000 yuan in capital. He is full of confidence. As soon as the two of them walked through the classical mahogany doors of the restaurant, they were immediately greeted by a beautiful waitress. Sir, for two? For two. Do you have a reservation or are you here with friends? No, just seat us anywhere. Okay. Wu Yi followed the waitress. He thought she was taking them to a table, but she led them to the reception desk. Sir, I'm sorry, but we only allow members to dine here, so if you want a table, you need to show your membership card or the lady's membership card. The pretty receptionist obviously thought the two in front of her didn't have a membership card. However, she was also professionally trained and was used to such accidental or curious situations. She did not say anything condescending because of Wu Yi's old and worn clothes. Wu Yi shrugged and said, "She's treating, ask her." Sophie's head was spinning, and she shook her head quickly. This was her first time here, so where would she find a membership card? She asked a little sheepishly, "What about the membership card?" The beautiful receptionist smiled slightly, skillfully took out two beautifully produced membership brochures, and said, "Madam, this is an introduction to the membership card for our Luhai pavilion." The delicate and soft voice of the receptionist's sister entered Sophie's ears. With a first recharge of 100,000 yuan, you will become an ordinary member, and you will be able to dine in our restaurant. With a cumulative recharge of 1 million yuan in our store, you will become a premium member, and you will be able to enjoy priority seating and priority treatment of ingredients. If you accumulate a total recharge of 5 million yuan in our store, then you will become our VIP member. As a VIP member, you will enjoy all the benefits of a regular member and a premium member, as well as the following additional services. First, you will have access to our VIP-only space, the VIP room. Each of our VIP rooms has been specially designed by a master, and the soundproofing in the VIP room uses the most advanced panels. If you have some important meals, you can rest assured that they will be held at our restaurant. Second, you can also specify any chef to serve you, ensuring that every dish served will be to your liking. In addition, as a VIP member, you will be assigned an exclusive account manager. When you come to eat in the future, you only need to inform the manager in advance of your dining time, as well as the dishes and requirements, and the manager will arrange it for you in advance. The receptionist introduced it very seriously, but Sophie's mind was blank, and she just remembered the words. Minimum recharge of 100,000. Sophie's eyes twitched. 3 months' salary is not enough to get the lowest membership card. Oh my god, and the VIP membership even requires a cumulative recharge of 5 million. Who can eat a meal and eat up a house in Luzhou City? Chapter 19, come on, be a little spoiled? The front desk's mellow voice was full of emotion and extremely pleasant to listen to. In fact, she had already seen Sophie's face change dramatically, but she continued to introduce the top-level services in the brochure with great professionalism. Sophie was so engrossed in the conversation that she had the illusion that she could not afford to become a member here, but she suddenly had the urge to do so. Amazing. She also often needs to use her sales ability, and she can't help but admire it a little. If she had this kind of sales ability, she wouldn't have to worry about no one buying her classes. No, there was a psychopath just now. No, a handsome guy bought 200 of his classes at a time. She glanced secretly at Wu Yi next to her, but she noticed that Wu Yi wasn't looking at the membership brochure, but was leaning against the marble counter at the front desk and staring in one direction. Following Wu Yi's gaze, Sophie looked over. Wu Yi was looking at the diners at a table for 10. At that table sat a middle-aged, greasy, pot-bellied man, and next to him were 4 girls. One of the girls, a good-looking one in a school uniform, sat very close to the man, and from time to time they made intimate gestures, obviously a couple. The other 3 girls sat at a distance from the 2 of them. One girl caught Sophie's attention. The other 3 girls, sitting in their positions, took selfies more or less, and occasionally looked around. Only this girl sat very coldly, neither taking selfies nor participating in the conversation at the table. The most important thing was that the girl's appearance was extremely outstanding, and the whole person had a kind of clear and elegant beauty that was breathtaking. Sophie also considered herself to be quite good-looking, but seeing this girl, she couldn't help but have the desire to look at her twice. But she also noticed something very interesting. Although the middle-aged man was dealing with the chatter of the JK girls around him, his eyes kept darting over to the cold girl. It was a greedy, primitive desire. Sophie had seen this kind of look many times before at the gym, when she faced the greasy old men who bought her classes. Oomph, all of them are smelly men. Following this beautiful woman to eat and yet still staring at someone else. Sophie was sure that Wu Yi was also looking at the beautiful woman, thinking angrily, completely forgetting that she and Wu Yi had only known each other for less than 2 hours. Hey! Sophie narrowed her eyes, as she seemed to see an acquaintance at that table. Yes, that table happened to be Lu Na's entire dormitory. And the middle-aged man was no accident Lu Na's so-called boyfriend Chen Hao. As it turned out, Wu Yi happened to see the scene of Luna flirting and coquettish with that middle-aged greasy uncle. Wu Yi felt very uncomfortable. He had originally thought that, with Luna's taste, she should have found someone who was both handsome and rich. He really didn't expect that the other person was a middle-aged greasy uncle who looked to be in his 30s and had a big belly. He felt humiliated. It seemed that he had captured the displeasure in Wu Yi's eyes. Let's go to another restaurant, Sophie said very decisively. With the 30,000 yuan Wu Yi gave her, she only had less than 50,000 yuan in her account, and she couldn't pretend to be rich anymore. No, let's eat here. Wu Yi gave a cold smile. Why should I hide from you too? Sophie was ashamed and could only whisper to Wu Yi, are you doing this on purpose? I don't have any money, can't I just give in? Wu Yi glanced at Sophie and gave her a wicked smile. How can you give in? You just said you wouldn't let me treat you to dinner. Sophie's face fell. How about I call you Brother Cat 3 more times? No, Brother Cat has heard that a million times already. How about you give me a cute pout? Do you think your ribs can withstand a punch from me? Ha, I'm just kidding. Wu Yi gave a wry smile. All right. When dining with a beautiful woman, you can't really let her pay. This one's on me. Sophie's face flushed, and she suddenly felt that her shabby appearance was being exposed too much. She smiled awkwardly and said, then next time I'll treat you. The beautiful woman at the front desk's eyes lit up, and she immediately beamed. The meaning of the man in front of her words was that I want to apply for a card. She quickly offered her most sincere smile and said, then how much would you like to charge for the first time, sir? Then let's get me a membership for 5 million yuan. Sophie. How much? The receptionist froze for a moment, then realized her rudeness and quickly said, Sir, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Wu Yi repeated, 5 million yuan. Sir, are you sure? Our VIP membership only requires a cumulative total of 5 million yuan, not a one-time deposit. How many meals would that be? Wouldn't a one-time deposit allow you to enjoy VIP services earlier? The beautiful receptionist froze for a moment, and then she realized that what he had said made sense. Sir, please wait a moment, our manager will be right with you. The beautiful receptionist quickly picked up the intercom and spoke a few words. When she put down the intercom, she looked at Wu Yi with a different kind of gaze. Luhai Pavilion in Jinding Square is an old restaurant, and it has quite a few VIP members. But almost all of the VIP members have accumulated a lot of money. She has worked in the store for 3 years and has never seen or heard of anyone charging 5 million at a time, and she has only seen 2 or 3 people charge 1 million at a time. What's important is that the man in front of her is still so young and handsome. He is a pure second-generation super-local tyrant. Younger brother, can I add you on WeChat? No way. The beautiful receptionist. Wu Yi hadn't had time to react when Sophie pulled him to the side and said anxiously in a very low voice. Hey, you, are you out of your mind? Charging a restaurant 5 million yuan at a time. Looking at the nervous girl who was almost pressed against him, Wu Yi's mood suddenly improved, and he put Sophie in his arms. Sophie just wanted to struggle a bit when a voice came from her ear, don't move, just listen to me. The girl actually didn't move, just lowered her head and didn't know what to think. Wu Yi laughed, looking at Sophie's ears, which were a little flushed. I'm thinking about the next 200 classes, and after class we have to have dinner, right? If you don't flush enough, you have to do it twice, which is troublesome. So if you flush a little more at a time, you can still enjoy good treatment. Oh, 5 million. If you think that's too much, just call me. Sophie's eyes widened. You go to the gym for a class and then you come to a place like this to eat for 7,000 to 8,000 yuan? What are you talking about? Do you think this is Xiaosuizi Snacks or Lanzhao La Mian? Really? Come on, give me your card number, I'll call it for you. Wu Yi smiled, and his hand slipped from Sophie's shoulder to her waist. Chapter 20, believe it or not, I don't know her well. And felt the man's hand rubbing at her waist. Sophie's body trembled again, and her first reaction was to struggle. But when the command from her brain was sent to her body, she just twisted her body a little. She had forgotten again that the man in front of her was Brother Cat. She believed that if she really dared to report her card number, this man would really dare to dial it. But what was the nature of this? Could she really ask for this money? Just as Sophie was extremely torn, the hand that had been a little bit naughty around her waist suddenly let go. She looked up a little strangely, and a pleasant voice came. Hello. Sophie's eyes showed a surprised expression. In front of her was another extremely beautiful girl, wearing a light blue cheongsam. The tightness of the cheongsam highlighted her graceful and curvy figure. What was particularly eye-catching was that the collar of the cheongsam was encircled with a delicate lace, making the graceful curve of the neck look extremely seductive. Most importantly, the beauty's face is beautiful beyond compare. Her skin is delicate and smooth, her long, slender eyebrows rise slightly, adding a touch of charm to her eyes, and her long hair is supple and shiny, gently falling over her shoulders. The whole image is like that of an ancient noble lady, the daughter of a famous family. Wu Yiku smiled. There was no prompt from the system, just a message about a girl floating up. Name, Pan Minmin. Age, 23. Face value index, 95. Body index, 83. Desire for money, 88. Host favorability, -20. Physical health, moderate sleep deprivation. Hello, I am the manager of Luhai Pavilion, Pan Minmin. You can call me Xiao Pan. Pan Minmin was also taken aback when she saw Wu Yi, but she quickly regained her sneering expression. You came to see me because you have the money? Student? Pan Minmin crossed her arms and looked indifferent. Wu Yi touched her nose and took out her wallet from her pocket, took out a library card with her real name on it and handed it to Pan Minmin. It's a good sum, but I really am a student, and she is my friend. Pan Minmin took the card and glanced at it. Luzhou University Library Card. Wu Yi, Luzhou University School of Economics, Finance Department, 19th grade, 22 years old. Why did you give me this? It's so weird. Pan Minmin handed the card back to Wu Yi and walked towards the reception desk. I don't want to read it, but you read it for so long. Wu Yi thought to herself, took the card, and suddenly saw Sophie with a teasing expression on her face. Believe it or not, she and I are actually not familiar with each other. Oh, we really aren't familiar with each other. The way you look at me is like the feeling of being caught cheating on your wife. Sophie said with a displeased expression, standing on the other side in a huff. Ha! Wu Yi smiled, although Sophie looked angry, her favorability rating had not decreased at all. Pan Minmin exchanged a few words with the receptionist, looked at Wu Yi, and her face revealed a hint of surprise as she asked, You want to charge 5 million? Didn't you say you had no money? Wu Yi touched her nose and said, Big sister, 5 million and 500 million are not the same level of numbers, okay? Ding, Pan Minmin's favorability rating -10. Pan Minmin froze for a moment, a strange expression appeared on her face, which then turned into a little anger. Who is the eldest sister? Since there are 5 million to Wu girls, why not buy yourself some nice clothes? Wearing something like this is embarrassing. As soon as Pan Minmin spoke, she froze herself. She stunned the receptionist, and also made Sophie whiten her eyes. This is a strange sentence to hear. It's a bit like a wife complaining about what her husband is wearing. The store manager. The receptionist quickly whispered a reminder. Pan Minmin then came to her senses and said lightly, I know, please provide the information. Wu Yi looked embarrassed. In fact, he didn't know what Pan Minmin was angry about. In a rational situation, he should not say anything now. But the embarrassing situation was that there was no rebate for spending money on oneself. Under all sorts of embarrassment, he said with a stiff upper lip. I'll do it for her. Pan Minmin frowned. Ha! Ding, Pan Minmin's favorability -10. Sure enough, Wu Yi smiled sheepishly and simply stopped looking at Pan Minmin. Sophie's body shook even more. What? Stay calm. Wu Yi quickly patted her on the shoulder. Are you kidding? I can't take it. Sophie's head shook like a rattle. To be honest, the previous 200,000 yuan was after all for the gym, and although the classes were booked in her name, she was still going to be buying them for herself. She was still quite content. But this is 5 million yuan, and it's in her name? Isn't that just like giving it to her? A 5 million yuan restaurant recharge card? That's crazy. Wu Yi smiled slightly. Listen to me. First of all, this card is just like the gym card. You think, I only come here to work out. After working out, don't we want to go out to eat, and won't we use this card for dinner? So it's just right to make the card in your name, isn't it? Then, I don't usually come around here, and I don't eat here very often. You're different, though. You work here, so you can come whenever you want. And then there's the gym. You need to watch what you eat to stay in shape, and this restaurant has a custom diet service that can save you a lot of trouble. Ding. Pan Minmin's favorability -10. Wu Yi. Manager, let me do it. Manager Yi just said that lawyer Zhang is on his way here. Although Pan Minmin didn't say anything, the receptionist already sensed something was different about her. He quickly spoke into the intercom, then walked out of the reception area and took the tablet from Pan Minmin's hands. Pan Minmin didn't refuse, but silently took a step back, without any intention of leaving because of what the receptionist had said. After taking the tablet, the receptionist flashed a professional smile at Sophie and said, "Young lady, your boyfriend is right. We at Luhai Pavilion can strictly tailor the food and flavors you need according to your requirements. You can even tell us your calorie needs for this meal, and we can tailor it strictly as well." This. A warm current surged through Sophie's heart, and she didn't know what to say. Ding, Sophie's favorability has increased by 20. Wait. Sophie suddenly thought of something. She just felt that something was wrong. Why should I have to eat with you after working out? Is she setting me up? Puff. The receptionist girl smiled sweetly. "Beauty, just accept your boyfriend's kindness." Sophie blushed and quickly said, He is not my boyfriend." Ding, Pan Minmin's favorability +10. Chapter 21, You called Cat Brother a poor loser? Wu Yi only had 1.6 million on his card. So the 5 million recharge was split into 1 million and spent 5 times. Fortunately, this was a recharge, and each recharge was considered a gift, just like live streaming gifts. If he happened to buy something big, Wu Yi would not dare to spend like this. After all, the beauty had to get his gift before he would get a cashback. Facing Sophie's surprise, Wu Yi gave a slight explanation. Because he really spends money without restraint, he has set a threshold of 1 million per transaction to prevent himself from going bankrupt. Sophie didn't think much about it. A single million is already a huge sum for her. Her credit card's monthly limit is only 100,000. Instead, the receptionist girl holding the credit card machine laughed at Wu Yi's nonsense. She has seen this situation a few times before, mostly restrictions put in place by wealthy families who are afraid of their children spending money recklessly. And the man in front of her fit this description perfectly. Who would set a limit on themselves for no reason? Ding, found that the host is a beautiful woman with a grade A or above, spending 1 million yuan, getting a 2 million rebate, and the balance on the card is 10,674,798 yuan. After swiping 5 times, Wu Yi finally reached the full 5 million, and with the rebate, his balance reached more than 10 million. Strange, why hasn't it prompted me after swiping 5 million? Wu Yi subconsciously looked at Sophie's money desire and was surprised to see that there were still 35. 5 million in recharge only made Sophie's desire decrease by 5 points? Didn't the gym's 200,000 just drop below 20? Wu Yi scratched the back of his head. The only reason he could think of was that perhaps this money desire was related to how much the beauty thought she benefited. For example, Xiaosuizi and Shangwan Mimi, the money they received went directly into their own pockets. As for the recharge card, plus the fact that she said she needed it for dinner, Sophie subconsciously felt that the card did not belong to her. But the system ruled that it was for the beauty to spend. Wu Yi looked as if he had suddenly realized something, as if he had discovered something extraordinary. With the receptionist's replacement, Pan Minmin didn't say a word the whole time. She looked thoughtfully at the message that the 5 million had arrived, and without lingering too much, she left with Sophie's information. A little while later, a beautiful waitress in a purple cheongsam stood very enthusiastically next to Wu Yi and said, "Mr. Wu, I am the deputy manager and senior manager of Luhai Pavilion. You can call me Xiaoye. If you need anything, you can find me." Wu Yi was taken aback. "Isn't your manager coming?" Xiaoye respectfully said. The manager suddenly had something to deal with. She said that if you have something, you can go to the office and find her directly. No, it's fine if she just goes about her business." Wu Yi quickly waved his hand. In fact, he wanted to remind Pan Minmin to rest, as her systematic health diagnosis showed that she was moderately sleep-deprived. Suddenly, he felt that he had no right to remind her. "Do you need to use the VIP room for your meal?" Xiaoyi asked respectfully. Wu Yi immediately shook his head, and then pointed to the table next to Luna's and said, "Can I sit at that table?" Of course, Xiaoyi answered without hesitation. The area Wu Yi pointed to was the dining area for multiple people. The tables were all large tables. If they were ordinary members, the waiters would politely arrange for them to sit at the table for 4 people. But Wu Yi was a distinguished VIP member, so she could sit wherever she liked. Following the beautiful waitress, Wu Yi passed by Luna's table. Familiar figure, familiar person. They locked eyes. Luna froze for a moment, and then an expression of annoyance appeared on her face. Wu Yi! Wu Yi! A rebuke from Luna. A question from Xiaomumu. Luna stood up straight and pointed at Wu Yi's face, scolding. Are you a mangy dog? How dare you follow me? No wonder everyone tells me to watch out for you. I've already told you, we've broken up. If you keep pestering me, I'll call the police. Giggle, Nana, brother cat is really here. Why don't you sit with us? Zhao Yaqian smiled warmly, just in case Chen Hao next to her didn't hear. Zhao Yaqian was still upset about what had just happened. Luna's face was full of fear. She didn't dare to look back at Chen Hao either, for fear that he would see her expression. Zhao Yaqian had just reminded her on WeChat that Wu Yi might come looking for her for revenge, and she never expected that he would actually show up. She regretted a little, thinking that she shouldn't have told Wu Yi that they were coming to Luhai court that night. What if Wu Yi really told everyone about the abortion? Yes, I must insist that this is a rumor spread by Wu Yi, who is upset about the breakup. Yes, that's what I'll say. Ha ha. Watching Luna's ugly face, Wu Yi suddenly felt that there was actually nothing bad about someone like Luna. If you're rich, you should find a woman like Luna, who only talks about money with you. At least you won't have any psychological pressure when you break up. Do we know each other? Wu Yi asked expressionlessly, not at all prepared to stop. Luna was confused. Is this Wu Yi? Is this the same Wu Yi who used to be so fickle? Luna frowned, baffled. Isn't Wu Yi here to see her? Then why is he here? A meal here costs thousands of dollars. When did he become so generous? Who is this person? A female voice interrupted Luna's thoughts. She then noticed that Wu Yi was accompanied by a woman in sportswear. This woman, both in terms of appearance and figure, was actually not inferior to her at all. A strong sense of discomfort welled up in her heart. Luna seemed to have figured something out, and a trace of disdain curled the corner of her mouth, her gaze full of contempt. She said in a sarcastic tone, Yo, Wu Yi, you've improved, haven't you? You sold the house your parents left you to come to a place like this to pretend to be rich? Wu Yi was confused. Is there something wrong with this woman? Before he could say anything, Luna had already walked out of her seat and looked around Sophie. With a smile that didn't reach her eyes, she said, Little sister, how did this poor loser fool you? You called Cat Brother a poor loser? Sophie's face showed a strange expression. Just now, this poor loser pretended to have 5 million in front of me, did you know that? Seeing Sophie's surprised expression, Luna gloated. I'll tell you, this poor loser can't possibly be a second-generation rich kid. He only has a few 100,000 yuan in his bank account. If you're thinking of taking advantage of this loser, then you're just waiting to get cheated. Take advantage? Sophie's face instantly turned black. She was a self-reliant woman who couldn't stand the behavior of Zhao Ruyue and others. This woman in front of her was a gold-digging woman, and she had the nerve to accuse others. She took Wu Yi's arm in front of Luna and said coldly, Little sister, I don't know what kind of environment you grew up in, but I want to tell you, don't think that everyone is as gold-hungry as you. Please don't talk to me in this way that belittles others and exalts yourself. We don't know each other, and this just makes me sick and affects my mood for dinner today. Luna's face turned extremely ugly when she heard Sophie's words. She felt that Sophie's words had stabbed her in the heart. The thing she least wanted to think back to was the extremely humble and hungry life she had led at home since she was young. Chapter 22 I thought of something happy. You still call Brother Cat a poor loser? Sophie showed a funny expression. If the anchors heard you call their godly hero a poor loser, they would probably come and rip your mouth off. Brother Cat? Godly hero? Zhao Yaqian was taken aback. She was also a host on a short video platform. Like all small and medium-sized hosts, she dreamed of having a godly host come to the live broadcast room to help her fight in the PK. How could she not know about the cat brother who had appeared in the past 2 days? She just didn't associate the two cat brothers. No way, Wu Yi is cat brother? Zhao Yaqian's heart pounded. She remembered that the boys' dormitory did call Wu Yi cat brother, and frantically operated on her phone. Because of the way cat brother would just log out after a while, the topic of the most difficult to keep around godlike hero had already shot straight to the top 10 trending discussions. Based on the hot topics and the analysis articles of the various platform gods, he quickly found Cat Brothers' ID. When she clicked in to take a look, Zhao Yaqian felt a little faint. Cat Brothers' avatar was indeed exactly the same as Wu Yi's WeChat avatar, and even the name was called Morning Cat. How could that be? At this point, Zhao Yaqian could no longer be described as shocked. Who is Cat Brother? The big brother who can level up a level 1 account to level 60 in 2 days. Who has been praised as the most difficult godlike hero to keep? Who is actually her classmate? Luna had no idea what Sophie meant, and said with a smug look on her face, "You probably don't know, but he was dumped by me because he was poor. I still don't know how many coins he has in his pocket." Dumped because he was poor? Sophie gave a shallow smile and looked at Luna a little pitifully. "I really have to thank you." She deliberately put on a little woman's appearance and said softly to Wu Yi, "It's okay, Cat Brother, even though you are very poor, I am willing to start from scratch with you and share both the good times and the bad." "Ah, that doesn't exist." Wu Yi laughed, and suddenly turned to Zhao Yaqian. "I heard that you are the anchor?" Zhao Yaqian nodded subconsciously. "What's your name?" "Cat Brother, my live broadcast room is also called Zhao Yaqian." Zhao Yaqian's trembling tone also carried a hint of respect. "Go online and start broadcasting." Wu Yi's words seemed to have a magical effect, and Zhao Yaqian hurriedly obeyed and turned on the broadcast. Hundreds of people joined the broadcast within seconds, and Zhao Yaqian could only quickly say hello to the broadcast. "Hi, everyone, I'm now having dinner with my roommates at Lujuj. Why start broadcasting now?" "Hey, to show you my beautiful roommates." Zhao Yaqian then flashed the camera at Lan Meihan. Lan Meihan gave a small smile, didn't say anything, and even made a heart shape with her hands. The 96-point beauty suddenly became an instant celebrity, and in an instant, Zhao Yaqian's live broadcast room suddenly gained several hundred people. "Wow, beautiful girl. Yaqian. We want to see the beautiful girl. Quick, kick Yaqian out of the live broadcast room. We want to see our classmates." In an instant, gifts kept flying in the live broadcast room. Zhao Yaqian gave a small smile and cooperated by constantly flipping the camera to show everyone a glimpse of her face. Level 60 early morning cat has arrived in the broadcast room. Zhao Yaqian's pupils constricted as. The viewers in the comments section, who were still discussing Lan Meihan, suddenly became agitated. The comment, "Cat Brother is here," immediately filled the screen. Zhao Yaqian looked embarrassed, not knowing whether she should shout a welcome to Cat Brother. But Wu Yi was right in front of her, which felt very strange. Early morning cat sends out Carnival *500. Zhao Yaqian was still embarrassed, and the expression on her face turned to shock, and she stood up all of a sudden. "Cat, brother cat. This is not good. Holy cow." Xiaomumu let out a strange cry and looked up at Wu Yi. "What's wrong?" Lan Meihan also looked over curiously. Xiaomumu's phone was also playing the interface of Zhao Yaqian's live broadcast room, which was being flooded with gifts. Wu Yi has sent Yaqian 1.5 million gifts. Oh. Lan Meihan looked at Wu Yi in surprise. "Wu Yi, are you crazy?" Luna's expression was shocked. Didn't Zhao Yaqian say that Wu Yi only had a few tens of thousands of dollars in his card? How could he have spent 1.5 million on gifts? Wu Yi grinned and ignored the others, just wrapping his arm around Sophie next to him and looking at Luna and saying, "You see, now I don't have any money to rip off girls, so I can only eat the soft rice of rich women instead." Ha ha ha. Sophie couldn't hold back any longer, she almost couldn't stand from laughing, and had to hold onto the chair to keep from walking away. "Sister, I'll take care of you for the rest of your life." "You?" Luna was very angry. She was about to go up to them again when Xiaoye slightly stopped her. Xiaoye's face showed a professional smile. "This beautiful lady, you are all guests of Luhai Pavilion, if you have any problems, you can solve them in private, please don't make a scene in the restaurant. No one else knows." Xiaoye knew very well that the table was using a borrowed authorization card to eat. The meaning of the authorization card is that high-level VIP customers can authorize friends to eat in the store, but they have to pay for the consumption themselves. How could she let customers using authorization cards affect the dining of their VIP customers? "What are you, and you dare to stop me?" Luna said angrily. Xiaoye's face was very calm, and she still maintained a smile. "I am Xiaoye, the deputy manager of Luhai Pavilion." "Nana." At this time, Chen Hao, who had been watching the show, finally spoke up and hurriedly pulled Lu Na back. Chen Hao smiled apologetically at Xiaoye. What a tasteless man. Xiaoye's gaze was cold. She had personally witnessed Lu Na and Sophie almost fighting just now. This man was leaning back in his chair, watching the show with a face full of excitement, completely indifferent, as if he couldn't wait for the two of them to really fight. Now he's pulling Lu Na out of the situation. It's just because he's afraid of offending Luhai and getting himself into trouble. What kind of man can be so shameless? Xiaoye wasn't angry, but she looked at Lu Na with sympathy. Suddenly, these two really do match. Lu Na then realized that she had lost her temper, so she quickly put on a sweet expression, sat back down next to Chen Hao, took his hand in her arms, rubbed it a few times, and said coquettishly, "Honey, I was just annoyed by that bitch. Stop beeping, order the food." Seeing Xiaoye's contemptuous eyes, Chen Hao felt very uncomfortable. He pulled his hand out of Lu Na's embrace and snapped at her. Lu Na froze for a moment. Although she felt a bit uncomfortable, she still said sweetly, "Yes, my husband is the best to me." Puff, ha ha ha. Xiao Mumu almost spit out a mouthful of lemonade. Lu Na said unhappily, "Xiao Mumu, what are you doing again?" Xiao Mumu wanted to tease Lu Na a little, but he noticed that Lan Meihan had pulled his clothes twice. She smiled and said, "It's okay, I just thought of something happy." Lu Na. Lu Yaqian and Lan Meihan both gave a faint smile. Chen Hao looked at Lu Na's stupid appearance and a wave of annoyance rose in his heart. Chen Hao, the operations director of Lightning Games. Lightning Games is the largest online game company in Luzhou City. The company has a variety of online games with monthly revenue of over 100 million yuan, and it is rumored that the company is secretly preparing for a listing in Hong Kong in the near future. Although Chen Hao doesn't look very good. His annual salary of several million yuan and his status as a senior executive give him a lot of capital to attract girls. Especially for those gold-worshipping girls who have just entered society and come from average families, he is extremely attractive. Lu Na is one of them. At that time, he used just one meal and a bag to make Lu Na go to the hotel with him that night. I have to say that at first, Lu Na's various skills that came with being a sea queen gave him a lot of excitement and novelty. But because Lu Na kept asking him for money from time to time, and after a few months, the initial sense of novelty had slowly worn off. He was also gradually considering how to get rid of Lu Na. Originally, it was just his birthday and he wanted to send a flower to casually get by. But after hearing that Lan Meihan was coming over, he immediately arranged this dinner at Luhai Pavilion and prepared to put on a good show. Lightning Games is a well-known local company that recruits at Luzhou University every year. Because the game was a big hit in previous years, allowing Lightning Games to make a lot of money, the company's internal benefits and treatment are well known in the industry in every way, which has made Chen Hao the object of flattery for many students. Lu Na was not the first student girlfriend he had dated from Lujiang University, so he had long heard of the girl who had been ranked first on the campus beauty pageant for 2 years in a row, Lan Meihan. Under normal circumstances, this would just be a topic of conversation after dinner, something to speculate about. But inadvertently, he discovered that Lan Meihan was actually Lu Na's roommate, which made him think differently. Chapter 23, Order a dish with a heart rate of over 100. Order food, order food. Seeing is believing. Chen Hao looked at Lan Meihan's face, which was so beautiful it took one's breath away, and could hardly hide his excitement. He picked up a menu, straddled the distance between the tables and delivered it to Lan Meihan, smiling as politely as he could. "This little schoolmate of mine is so quiet. You should order too. Don't worry about me, just order whatever you like." Chen Hao was calculating. He had wanted to take the opportunity to touch Lan Meihan's hand, intentionally or unintentionally, while passing the menu, but something awkward happened. Lan Meihan just gave him a faint sideways glance, leaned back slightly behind him, and was not even prepared to connect the menu. Chen Hao looked like he was having a lot of fun, and could only put the menu in front of Lan Meihan. Seeing Chen Hao's appearance, Lu Na's eyebrows furrowed. From the time Chen Hao unintentionally saw the class photo and kept mentioning that he wanted to invite the whole dormitory to dinner, she knew that Chen Hao had already lost interest in her, even though she had tried every means to please him. But she didn't dare say anything, even if she threw a little temper tantrum. Lu Na didn't really think that Wu Yi was bad. She was also a smart girl, and she knew very well that the reputation of the university in the past few years basically meant that no rich second generation would look at her, and an outstanding graduate like Wu Yi, even if she was not as good as those rich second generation, she should not do too badly after graduation. Especially once, when Wu Yi said that he hoped to form a family with her, her heart was pounding. Sometimes she even reminded herself that she should either get along well with Wu Yi. But she has a family that simply won't let her live a good life. In July, she was originally doing an internship at Lightning Games, but she received a phone call from home saying that her younger brother had been accepted to a private university, and the tuition alone would be nearly 30,000 yuan a year. She was told to send 40,000 yuan back, or else she would be forced to drop out of school and get married. Dropping out of school was her only weak point. She was about to graduate, and as soon as she got her diploma, she would immediately go to a city where her family could not find her and start over. But there was still a year to go. With no other options, she set her sights on Chen Hao, who had been courting her. As a veteran of the sea, she knew full well that Chen Hao was a scumbag, the worst kind of scumbag there was. But Chen Hao was the only one around her who could immediately solve her problems at the time. Even now, before she finds a new ATM, she can only cling to Chen Hao. The only thing that made her feel at ease was that she knew very well that Lan Meihan could never look at Chen Hao. In her 3 years at university, Lan Meihan had rejected countless suitors who arrived in luxury cars. Everyone speculated that Lan Meihan's family was probably running a large company. It was just that Lan Meihan herself led a relatively low-key life, and at most it looked like she was just a little richer than others, so everyone just guessed. Reluctantly, Luna spoke up, "Meihan, I know your family is very well off, but it's my birthday today, so do me a favor and just order whatever you like." Luna's words had a hidden meaning. While they seemed to be directed at Lan Meihan, they were actually meant for Chen Hao. Lan Meihan just smiled slightly and didn't intend to say anything. "Oh, happy birthday to you." Xiaomumu snatched the menu in front of Lan Meihan and gave a strange expression on his face. He looked at Chen Hao and said, "Uncle, are we really just going to order whatever?" "Uncle? I'm only 30. Chen Hao was depressed, but in front of Lan Meihan, he could only smile and say, "Nana is right, today is her birthday, you can order whatever you like, not ordering is not giving Nana face." Chen Hao obviously didn't pick up on Luna's meaning and said excitedly, "Don't worry, I will definitely give Nana face." Xiaomumu smiled and closed the menu in his hand directly, greeted the waiter next to him, and pointed to Wu Yi's table not far away and said, "Young lady, give me a copy of the menu that handsome guy is holding." Chen Hao's face froze, and then he revealed an extremely painful expression. "Yes, there are actually 2 menus in Luhai Pavilion. One is the family menu, which is the one Chen Hao and the others are looking at. The dishes on the menu are inexpensive, costing between 500 and 600 yuan, with the more expensive ones costing 1,000 to 2,000 yuan. The main focus is on drinks, and this is considered to be the more affordable price range at Luhai Pavilion. The other menu is actually an introduction to the specialty dishes, which Luhai Pavilion has named the luge recipe. The dishes on the luge recipe are where the true essence of Luhai Pavilion lies. Not only are the ingredients top-notch, but the dishes are also prepared with care by the chef of the day. Of course, not all the dishes on the menu are available every day, depending on the kitchen stock of ingredients that day. After all, some rare ingredients are not always available. To order a dish, you have to talk to the manager to find out if it is prepared today. Therefore, if a VIP guest is interested in a dish from the Luhai menu, they will usually talk to their dedicated manager in advance, and the manager will tell them when they can eat according to the availability of ingredients. In the early days, Luhai did not have 2 menus. All dishes were on one menu, and there were only 2 membership levels, ordinary member and VIP member. The main reason is that after Pan Minmin took over Luhai, she made a series of reforms. The reform of the menu was a relatively effective measure that not only attracted many new diners, but also prevented many embarrassing situations and increased word of mouth. This is also the reason why Chen Hao dares to say to order casually. Because as long as you order normally from this home menu, even if 7 people order the whole thing, the most it will cost is a maximum of 20,000 to 30,000. It is within his means. But if you order from the luge menu, it will be a different price. And Xiaomumu knew why, because Lan Meihan had already invited her here once. On the other side of the table, Sophie swallowed hard, took a big sip of the lemonade on the table, and Yi immediately refilled her glass. She had already read the dishes on the Lugu menu and the corresponding prices on the tablet twice. She couldn't bring herself to order any of the dishes on the menu. Red Devil Shrimp Sashimi Platter 6266. Beef Bone Jade Dragon 6888. Orchid Stir-Fried Shark's Fin 6888. Snow Crab with Sautéed Garupa 16666. 8 Immortals Crossing the Sea with Stir-Fried Lobster 18888. Splendid Lobster Feast 28888. Whole sautéed swordfish feast 38888. The cheapest dish is actually handmade noodles with truffle sauce, 36.66 for a serving. 36.66 for a serving of handmade noodles? She asked Xiaoye carefully, this handmade pasta with truffle sauce, why is it 898 on the menu and 36.66 on the tablet here? Is there a mistake? Xiaoye smiled and said, Miss Su, the biggest difference here is the truffle used. The handmade pasta with truffle sauce on the home cooking menu uses regular truffles, while the truffles on the luge recipe use Alba white truffles. Do you need me to introduce you to white Alba truffles? Xiaoye politely asked. No need, let this stupid girl Bai do it herself. It was already past 8 o'clock, and Wu Yi's stomach was growling with hunger, so he directly rejected Xiaoye's proposal. Introduce it? He felt that if Sophie ordered more, she probably wouldn't be able to eat until 10 o'clock. And it was all charged at 5 million. Why not spend it? Wu Yi scanned the menu and, after marking 7 or 8 dishes that the pretty waitress said were available today, asked Sophie, do you want some wine? Sophie nodded subconsciously, then shook her head. A single dish is so expensive, and a glass of wine would be even more expensive. Then let's have another bottle of Paytas red wine. Wu Yi ordered without further ado. Sophie glanced at the price and her heart sank. 88,888 yuan per bottle. She quickly felt her heartbeat, which had reached over 100 beats per minute. This dish. Forget it, he is Brother Cat, someone who will easily spend 500 carnival points to save face. What the fuck do I care? Chapter 24 Getting drunk is good. What are you muttering about? Wu Yi closed the menu. Sophie pouted and said, are all local tyrants gentlemen? You're so overbearing, and I haven't finished reading it yet. Wu Yi smiled and pushed the recipe aside, saying, take your time reading it, and feel free to order whatever you like, you can order until tomorrow. It's late, what's the point of me reading it when you've already ordered? Sophie pouted in annoyance, picked up the menu angrily, and pushed it back at Wu Yi. Ding, Sophie's favorability plus 10. Hey. Wu Yi didn't say anything, and handed the menu back to Xiaoye, saying, 2 more bottles of Diet Coke. Ah, Xiaoye froze for a moment. There isn't any? Xiaoye subconsciously shook his head, and then immediately nodded and said, yes, sir. Do you want it ice cold or not, and do you need ice? Ice cold, some ice. Okay. Sophie wondered, why order Coke? Wu Yi said, I don't drink alcohol, I just drink Coke. Sophie gave him a disgusted look. You're just letting me drink, what are you thinking? Wu Yi shrugged. Get drunk and take you to a hotel room, what else is there to think about? Sophie. Soon, a waiter pushed a cart with a bottle of red wine and 2 cans of Diet Coke over, along with a chilled glass and a small bucket of ice. The waiter carefully lifted the Paytas red wine, showed the year and seal, and when he saw Wu Yi nod, he opened the wine and poured it into the decanter. Sophie stared at the red liquid flowing into the decanter, and this sip of wine must be worth several hundred. Xiaoye then helped Wu Yi open a can of Diet Coke and pour it into the glass. She looked serious and meticulous, as if she was pouring an expensive bottle of wine. The glass was neither too big nor too small, and the can was poured to exactly 2/3 of the way up. Wu Yi took it up and took a big sip. The cool, stimulating feeling soothed him from the annoyance of the day. Sir, this is the bell for calling service. If there is nothing else, Xiaoye will not disturb you. I wish you and your girlfriend a pleasant meal at Luhai Pavilion. Xiaoye politely withdrew. For a moment, a subtle silence filled the air. It was not an awkward silence, nor was it a silence of having nothing to say, but a silence with subtle emotions. Sophie's pounding heart never stopped, because with each dish, the waiter would say, This is dish XXX, I hope you and your girlfriend enjoy your meal. She had long since given up resisting, but she was well aware that they had actually only known each other for less than 3 hours. Thank you just now. Wu Yi suddenly said. Sophie blinked. It seems like you just ended an unhappy relationship. Ha, there are always a lot of passers-by in life, right? Wow, you're quite philosophical. Of course, otherwise how could I woo you? Giggling, I really don't understand why your ex-girlfriend would give up on you and go for that kind of pig. Sophie glanced back. She saw Lu Na once again cooing next to Chen Hao, and Chen Hao's hand was very unfaithfully stroking up Lu Na's skirt. Seeing this made Sophie blush. She felt sick to her stomach. She really couldn't understand how that woman could abandon the rich and handsome man in front of her and choose that greasy old man. There was only one answer left in her mind. Is it because you have a lot of women? Believe it or not, before today I only had her as a nominal girlfriend. Don't believe it. Ha ha. Wu Yi smiled happily. It doesn't matter. Wang Duo didn't have a fish. There's a saying, I wanted to get along with everyone as an ordinary person, but what I got in return was indifference and sneers. I'm not pretending anymore. It's showtime. What's in the past is in the past. At least in the future, I think I'll have a lot of girlfriends. You're still really outspoken. It's okay. I don't think there's any need to hide it, not to abandon them, unless they want to leave on their own. But even if they want to go, I should also give them a large sum of money, so that we can part as friends and not waste the time we spent together. Sophie was taken aback and subconsciously said, Then you spent so much money on me today. Wu Yi shrugged his shoulders. Needless to ask, you don't really think I want to get fit, do you? Of course I'm inviting you to be the woman by my side. Sophie's face flushed. You scumbag. How can you be so scum-like and aboveboard? Chapter 25, The Lan Family, Lan Meihan's Lan. Sophie lowered her head in silence for a moment. For some reason, she didn't feel the least bit angry at Wu Yi's scumbag comments. Given his personality, she would have punched him long ago. But compared to those sweet words, she found the scumbag comments from this man surprisingly comforting. Wu Yi had said a lot, all about the roles of the lovers around him, and the only thing he hadn't said was about his wife. Sophie felt a sense of pity for Wu Yi as she thought about it. A rich second generation who casually rewards his lovers with millions and can also casually splurge 5 million just to get a rechargeable card, this kind of family is definitely extraordinary. And the marriages of these playboys are almost always used for alliance marriages. The only tragedy is that in a marriage built on interests, most of the parties will not have feelings for each other and will mostly reject each other. So after most family alliance marriages, the husband and wife both just go about their own business and don't interfere with each other. And as an ordinary girl with them, although you can't expect the happiness that marriage and love bring, you can gain a lot of material benefits. Everything is just a matter of choice. Love? Sophie smiled, suddenly feeling that if she really was supported by Wu Yi, it would be a good choice. Suddenly, Sophie shuddered, startled by her own thoughts. There was once again a moment of silence at the table, but it was soon broken by a harsh voice. Xiaomumu. What do you mean? The voice of Luna, who was at the other table, came across in a flurry of anger. It turned out that after Xiaomumu asked the waiter to get a copy of the Lugu cookbook, he did nothing and simply ordered a bottle of Paytas dry red wine, just like Wu Yi. Chen Hao's face turned black with anger because a bottle of Paytas dry red wine costs 88,888,888 yuan. Xiaomumu found the two of them's appearance a bit funny, and said in a harmless manner, Didn't this uncle tell me to order whatever I like? I didn't order the most expensive one, did I? The cheapest bottle of Romantico candy cost several 100,000 yuan. Luna slammed the table, pointed at Xiaomumu and said, Xiaojin gang. Is this what you call ordering whatever you like? You're deliberately causing trouble. If you don't want to eat, you can just leave, you're not welcome here. Ha ha. Xiaomumu snorted coldly, stared at Luna and said, Lu Big Mouth, if Guogua weren't here, do you think I'd be willing to sit here? Do you really think that just because you have a big mouth, you can get away with saying whatever you like? You. Luna was so angry that her 7 apertures were filled with smoke. Lu Big Mouth was the nickname the boys in her class had given her, and she hated it when people called her that. She wanted to go up to Xiaomumu and have a serious discussion with her. However, Xiaomumu simply reached out and flexed her biceps, which made her retract her foot that was about to step forward. Get lost, get lost. Guogua, let's go. Xiaomumu gave a sly smile, got up and pulled Lan Meihan. You really are. Hey. Lan Meihan covered her mouth and laughed, and in the blink of an eye, she flashed a charming smile. Chen Hao was momentarily stunned. Chen Hao hurriedly stood up and anxiously asked, Are you leaving too, classmate Lan? Luna's outburst just saved him from embarrassment. He was a little relieved that Xiaomumu was leaving, because today he had tried to get in touch with Lan Meihan in every way, but Xiaomumu had kept getting in the way. Without Xiaomumu, he felt that his chance had come. But he was dumbfounded. Xiaomumu was leaving, but he was taking Lan Meihan with him. He spent tens of thousands of dollars today just to have a chance to get in touch with Lan Meihan, and now that Lan Meihan is leaving, his efforts were for nothing. Seeing that Chen Hao was displeased, Luna hurriedly said, Guogua, you have to leave too. I was only talking about Xiao Mumu, not you. Nana, look at you, Xiao was just joking with me, what are you so excited about? Apologize to Xiao right now. Lu Na was full of grievances, but seeing Chen Hao's indifferent eyes, she had no choice but to say to Xiao Mumu with 100 unwillingnesses, Mumu, I was in the wrong just now, it's my birthday today, so you can stay and have dinner with me. Lan Meihan glanced at Lu Na and revealed a sad look in her eyes. Don't you know that your boyfriend set this up just to get close to me? Seeing Lan Meihan's eyes, a flash of resentment flashed in Lu Na's eyes. The biggest reason for her and Lan Meihan's more than 3 years of bad relations was that Lan Meihan would often look at her with condescending and pitying eyes. Chen Hao beamed from ear to ear. Yes, after all, today is Nana's birthday, and you guys said you wanted an internship stamp, which is something I can arrange. I'll give Nana the tripartite agreement tomorrow, and I'll give you all a good recommendation. Lan Meihan laughed lightly. Chen Hao suddenly felt that there was a chance, and said again, you are all Nana's classmates, and it just so happens that our operations department is hiring a business manager. Whoever is interested can be hired directly, without an internship. After Chen Hao finished speaking, he felt that something was wrong. The 3 women at the table didn't even show the slightest bit of interest in what he said. Even Zhao Yaqian, who had been begging him to stamp the tripartite agreement, was just holding a powder box to powder her face. Zhao Yaqian tilted her mouth and listened to Chen Hao's words with a half-smile. She thought about how Lu Na had just asked him why Wu Yi's card had only 1.2 million yuan on it but he had managed to charge 5 million. She really felt sorry for Lu Na. What else could it be? He was just teasing you, and you're still holding on to your position as senior director. Even people like us who don't have any experience can become business managers. Lan Meihan suddenly spoke up and asked. Chen Hao saw that the person asking the question was Lan Meihan, and he was slightly smug. Whether you have experience or not is still up to me. Although I'm not some kind of senior executive, I still have some authority. Ha, that's impressive. Does Lu Hong know that you're so impressive? Chen Hao was stunned, and his face suddenly froze. The company he worked for was called Lightning Games, the largest game company in Luzhou City, and it was wholly owned by the Minyu Group. Lu Hong is the general manager of their company, Lightning Games, and the son of Lu Tangyue, the chairman of the board of directors of Minyu Group. He has absolute power over the internal operations of Lightning Games. Chen Hao didn't know what Lan Meihan meant by suddenly mentioning Lu Hong, so he quickly hid his smug look and asked cautiously. Do you know Lu Hong, Miss Lan? No. Chen Hao was about to let out a sigh of relief, but Lan Meihan's words almost made him kneel. However, his father, Lu Tangyue, had said when he came to my house for New Year's greetings last year that his useless son had made a mess of the gaming company, and now it seems that this is indeed the case. Lan Meihan gave a cold smile, beckoned, and the waiter next to her immediately came over. Chen Haolu once again showed a surprised expression, because Lan Meihan took out a golden card. The golden card also had a small blue word printed on it. Lujij Custom VIP card. There are only a handful of families in the entire province of Fujian that can have their family name engraved on a VIP card at Lujioj, and that is only because these families are close friends with the patriarch of the Pan Group, Pan Yuan Guang. One of them is the Lan family, which owns the Lan Group. Lan Meihan's Lan. Chen Hao's forehead was covered in cold sweat. Lan Meihan glanced at Chen Hao, and this person is not too stupid, and he has some knowledge. Chapter 26. Are you sure you want to call the police? Lan Meihan handed the gold card in her hand to the waiter and said, charge the Patu red wine I just ordered to this card. The waiter standing nearby saw the card and his eyes widened a bit. He quickly whispered into the intercom on his shoulder, then put on a respectful expression and took over the gold card. Lan Meihan said lightly, Nana, happy birthday to you. This bottle of Paytas Red can be considered a birthday gift from Mumu and me. But I'm really not feeling well, so let Mumu take me home. Lan Meihan gave a very reasonable excuse. Chen Hao's expression was wonderful, and he quickly and unsteadily walked out of position. You go slowly, it's really an honor for Nana and me that you could come to Nana's birthday. Honey, ignore them. These two are annoying because they are so white lily. Lu Na was sharp-eyed and grabbed Chen Hao's hand, interrupting Chen Hao's words and stopping Chen Hao's actions that seemed to want to stop Lan Meihan. What she didn't know was that Chen Hao was preparing to lick Lan Meihan's groveling actions. Lan Meihan stopped in her tracks and looked coldly at Lu Na. Who is the White Lotus? Pop. You stupid pig. I really can't stand you. Chen Hao slapped Lu Na on the face, knocking her to the ground. Zhao Yaqian screamed, quickly grabbed her bag, and noticed Wu Yi looking over. She quickly scurried over to Wu Yi's table, putting on a shocked expression. Brother Cat, aren't you going to save Nana? Wu Yi glanced at Zhao Yaqian and said indifferently, why should I save her? Do I know her? Zhao Yaqian wanted to say something, but a shadow beside her floated past. Chunhao was simply seething with anger. To have such a brainless stupid woman on your hands is just bad luck. Didn't you see that I almost had to kneel down? And you dare to call someone a green tea? Are you looking for death? Lu Na was completely dumbfounded. She didn't expect Chunhao to hit her because of Lan Meihan. Husband, you. Who is your husband? You're a fucking bitch, slut. Who are you calling a white lotus? You can't call Miss Lan that. Chunhao stepped forward and slapped her again. Lu Na's face had already grabbed Lu Na's wrist and dragged her over to the side. Enough. Lan Meihan really couldn't stand it anymore and shouted. Chunhao shivered and quickly let go of Lu Na, just as he was about to turn around. Clang. Lan Meihan was startled by the sudden turn of events. She heard the sound of plates shattering and felt her body being pulled backwards by a hand. Xiaomumu was holding a plate of unfinished side dishes in his hand and slammed it down hard on Chunhao's head. You fat bastard, you're covered in fat, so you think you're so great for hitting a woman? Chunhao was unable to react in time. He heard a loud noise and the side dishes spilled all over his fat body. Chunhao was dumbfounded, and blood was already running down his head. Before he could react, he was kicked in the stomach again, and he sat back down. After seeing that it was Xiaomumu, he showed a crazed look on his face. Damn bitch, the bitch's dormitory is full of bitches. Chunhao immediately got up and pounced on Xiaomumu. Although Xiaomumu was very strong from practicing, he was only strong and didn't know how to fight. When Chunhao bumped into him, although he didn't fall, he was stunned, and then he received a punch in the stomach. Die. Chunhao was just about to punch Xiaomumu again when his hand was suddenly grabbed. A voice came from Xiaomumu's ear. Huh, that's all the fighting power you have, and you're still yelling every day that you want to kill me? Chunhao looked back and saw Wu Yi looking at him with a smile. Clang. Wu Yi's table, which had been drinking some Paytas dry red wine, crashed down on his head. The glass shattered, and Chunhao kept backing away. His eyes were red from either the wine or the excitement, and he didn't even bother to look at the blood on his forehead. He looked around and happened to see Xiaomumu's order for Paytas dry red wine, and he swung it up in one motion. As a result, it was as if lightning had struck his head, and a voice suddenly told him that the bottle of wine cost 90,000 yuan. Chunhao shivered, and quickly put the wine down carefully. After putting the wine down, he turned his head, only to have a plate of food immediately covered his face. Then he was kicked in the knee again, and the whole person was once again kicked to his knees. Coincidentally, the direction he was kneeling was exactly Lu Na, who had already been helped by Zhao Yaqian to sit in a chair. Xiaomumu was the one who had thrown the dish of vegetables at him, and Sophie was the one who had kicked him. Sophie? Shark Mumu? Sophie and Xiaomumu looked at each other, first with surprise, then they burst out laughing. Seeing Chunhao's miserable appearance. Stop fighting. A stern female voice came over. Wu Yi glanced over and saw that it was actually Pan Minmin standing by the side with a serious expression. He smiled awkwardly and hurriedly got up and took 2 steps back. Did you feel better after the hero saved you? Sophie giggled, handed Wu Yi a pack of tissues, and reached out to help him tidy up his messy clothes. Wu Yi glanced at Xiaomumu and shrugged. That's beauty? He was clearly the hero saving the hero, while she was the one saving the beauty. Ugh, watch out, Mumu might throw a dumbbell at you. Sophie pouted, but at this moment, Wu Yi's figure looked much more manly in her eyes. At least there is no harm in comparison. Compared to disgusting men like Chunhao, Wu Yi is countless times better. Chunhao got up from the ground with a disheveled look on his face, pointed at Wu Yi and Xiaomumu, and yelled, "You two are dead. I'm calling the police right now. If I don't get you expelled from school, my surname will be written upside down." Sir, are you sure you want to call the police? Chunhao then saw that at some unknown time, there was a stunning beauty standing next to him wearing a light blue cheongsam, and next to the beauty stood a man in his 40s. It was this man who spoke. Chunhao looked at him and his body trembled again. The man was wearing gold-rimmed glasses, a suit and leather shoes, and was holding a briefcase in his hand. The collar of his shirt was embossed with the golden letters. Kingwood Mallesons. The #1 law firm in the Dragon Kingdom. Chapter 27 Zhongshan, Kingwood. The middle-aged man said indifferently, "Let's not talk about that for now." I heard that someone here beat a woman up in public, so as a lawyer, I've come to see if the victim needs legal assistance. Beat a woman up in public? Chen Hao's expression was wonderful, and he quickly looked at Lan Meihan. He was obviously taking out his anger on Miss Lan's behalf. Lan Meihan ignored him completely, just giving a glance at Pan Minmin. She didn't understand why Pan Minmin was helping Luna, but most people didn't know how powerful Kingwood was. She walked over to Luna and said, "Nana, now that there's a Kingwood lawyer here, if you want to sue this guy, you can at least make him stay in the police station for 15 days. By then, his company will definitely fire him." Chen Hao. Before Luna could say anything, Chen Hao's voice came over the line. "Nana, are you okay? I just lost my temper. You know I've always been good to you. I'll make it up to you later. Nana, don't listen to this fat bastard. There's only zero tolerance for hitting a woman. Now Guogui is here to help you, so don't be afraid." Zhao Yaqian was afraid that Luna still didn't understand Lan Meihan's identity, so she quickly spoke up to remind her. Luna's eyes struggled for a moment, but eventually eased up. "Honey, I'm fine." "Ha!" Lan Meihan snorted coldly, got up directly and stood on the side, not wanting to pay any more attention to Luna. "Lu Da. Nah, has your brain been damaged?" Xiao Mumu froze for a moment, and hated to go up and slap Luna as well. Chen Hao's expression was very pleased, and then he looked at Wu Yi, who was standing not far away, and said, "Now it's just a matter of him hitting me, right?" The middle-aged man shook his head. "I think you have some kind of misunderstanding. This gentleman was just doing the right thing. Even if this young lady doesn't want to press charges against you, the store's security cameras can prove that he did the right thing. If you absolutely have to sue him, then regardless of whether this young lady wants to press charges against you, your preemptive actions will also become a cause of the incident, and we can sue you just the same. He hit me, and that's become doing the right thing? Do you take me for a fool? How can these two cases be lumped together?" Chen Hao's nose was about to poke out in anger. "Sir, please watch your words. You fought back, so legally speaking, you were involved in a mutual fight." "Mutual fight? I was fucking defending myself." "Sir, it was a mutual fight." The middle-aged man laughed. "I'm a first-class lawyer at the prestigious Kingwood law firm. You don't think I'd make a mistake defining such a trivial incident, do you?" He pushed the sunglasses on his nose and wore an air of supreme confidence on his face. "You?" At this moment, Chen Hao's mind suddenly woke up. He almost forgot that this was Luhai court and almost forgot that the cause of this matter was Lan Meihan of the Lan family. What kind of person is a lawyer at Kingwood? How could they come out to deal with such a trivial matter of a fight? Someone must not be able to stand seeing him. Chen Hao was scared for a moment, and cold sweat climbed up his back. Neither Luhai court nor Lan Meihan are people he can afford to offend. He must leave quickly. After a moment of trembling, Chen Hao gave Wu Yi a fierce look, shouted at Luna, covered his head, and angrily fled from Luhai court. Luna also hurriedly got up. She glanced at Wu Yi and felt a mixture of emotions. But she still followed Chen Hao and left. "Is your ex-girlfriend out of her mind? If it were me, I would have broken 8 of his ribs." Sophie scolded. "Why does it sound like you're scolding me?" Wu Yi laughed. "Are you pleased with yourself?" Wu Yi's smile froze for a moment, and a waft of fragrance passed by him. It was Pan Minmin. Wu Yi hadn't thought of what to say yet, when Pan Minmin had already stopped next to Lan Meihan. "I didn't think Miss Lan would come to Lujuj for dinner. What's the matter? Is it because your Michelin-starred chef's cooking is no good?" Lan Meihan gave a faint smile, and slightly elegantly brushed the green hair in front of her forehead to the back of her ear. Wu Yi once again marveled at the system's superiority. Fair, flawless skin, silky black hair, delicate features. Standing together, these two 95-point beauties looked like they had stepped out of a painting, instantly attracting the attention of all the men in the restaurant. But perhaps it is the lover's eye that sees the beauty, and although the system rated Lan Meihan 1 point higher than Pan Minmin, Wu Yi felt that Pan Minmin seemed better looking, especially the heroic air between her eyes, which Lan Meihan did not have. Miss Pan's words were a bit presumptuous. "My grandfather and your grandfather were close friends, and I still have the custom VIP card for Luhai court. Besides, there's no harm in coming early to take a look at the property. After all, it would be quite a headache if you really had to take over." Lan Meihan gazed at Pan Minmin's eyes with a hint of pity. Pan Minmin's eyes were very calm, and she looked directly at Lan Meihan and said, "Don't look at me with those eyes. For me, it's not yet known who will win until the very last moment." "That's great, you're worthy of being the new female CEO of Baman, I'm impressed." Lan Meihan gave a round of applause, her eyes full of appreciation for her subordinate. "But you should know that in the hands of the Lan family, we can definitely make the Luhai brand even better and make it go beyond Baman. In the hands of your father and those directors, the Pan family will eventually have no choice but to go bankrupt and liquidate." Pan Minmin gave a small smile. "Don't bother. I only believe that my grandfather's hard work will be better in my hands." Lan Meihan's eyes revealed a hint of amusement, and she gave a faint smile. "Sister Pan, I guess you won't be able to do anything about it then." Before Lan Meihan's words had finished, Pan Minmin had already turned around. When she reached Wu Yi's side, Pan Minmin reached out and tapped a small piece of vegetable leaf stuck in Wu Yi's hair. Without saying a word, she left with the lawyer from Kingwood. The women's gazes focused, especially Lan Meihan's eyes full of surprise. Wu Yi felt embarrassed and quickly turned to Xiaoye, who was standing on the side, and said, "I will pay for all the broken things at these two tables, and then please open another private room for us." The commotion of this round was too loud, and it was obviously no longer appropriate to continue. "You gone mad? What on earth are you hoping for?" Pan Minmin rubbed her slightly aching temples and simply avoided the topic, saying, "Uncle Zhang, what do you think of the current situation?" Zhang Shan frowned and said with concern, "It's hard. I recently read the information you sent me, and I feel that the problems facing the Pan Group recently are not simple. On the surface, there is nothing wrong with the group's operations, but a closer look will reveal that many of the group's internal borrowing debts are actually interborrowed. From the head office to a single store, the debts are interlinked, like multiple credit cards with the same card number. Once there is a problem in one link, it will cause all the links to explode together. Moreover, the embezzlement of 80 million yuan in operating funds by Xiaosuizi is like a bomb wrapped in meat. It seems that there is a force behind it preventing this matter from coming to light, but once it does, the group's stock price is expected to plummet. There is nothing wrong with the overall model of the Pan Group, and the framework is also very complete. The annulus debt is nothing more than a matter of money. The problem now is that all the shareholders on the board are afraid that they will be kicked out and are holding together in a group. They would rather watch the group die than give up their positions and accept corporate changes." A flash of anger flashed in Pan Minmin's eyes. Zhang Shan sighed. "It's only natural. They don't have that much affection for the group or for Mr. Pan. Many of them have even secretly negotiated the sale of their shares. This is actually a good thing for you. There are two key points now. One is how to prevent the stock price from falling below 2.5 yuan before Friday. The second is to have enough funds to participate in the auction on Friday night and take those shares that have been set aside for sale." "I know." A trace of fatigue and a little disappointment appeared in Pan Minmin's eyes. "In the end, it's still about money. Actually." Zhang Shan hesitated for a moment before saying, "Before he left, Mr. Pan said that he hoped you would live happily and not be burdened by the 3 words Lu Zhougu and live under pressure every day. If you sell all the shares you have now, you can get a lot of money, at least you won't have to worry about living for the rest of your life." "Uncle Zhang, even you think I should sell the shares?" Pan Minmin suddenly paused and turned to look at Zhang Shan. Zhang Shan was taken aback. "What, do you think I was sent by your father?" Pan Minmin frowned and didn't say anything. Now in her eyes, these acquaintances and relatives around her were perhaps not as good as that smiling man. Zhang Shan's face showed an amiable smile. "To be honest with you, your father's secretary came to me with representatives from the Lan family yesterday and offered me 50 million in legal fees in the hope that I would help them out at a critical time. I'm not young anymore, and this is a price I can't refuse." Pan Minmin felt a tug in her heart. Zhang Shan had actually given her face by saying that, and he could have simply said nothing. She looked at Zhang Shan with difficulty and said, "Uncle Zhang, you know I don't have that much money to give you right now." Zhang Shan smiled. "If I wanted money, I wouldn't have come here. Pan LA's dying wish was for me to help you out, so if you choose to make a last-ditch effort, I will definitely stand by your side. But whatever you want to do, the premise is whether you can get the controlling stake of the group, otherwise you are unwilling, there is no way, so the auction on Friday is crucial." Zhang Shan paused, his eyes slightly apologetic, and said, "I'm just saying this in advance, if you can't get the equity for the auction on Friday, I'll be at your father's invitation banquet on Saturday, I hope you understand." Pan Minmin's face showed an unprecedented exhaustion, but she still forced a smile. No matter the outcome, I still want to thank Uncle Jean for his honest support. On the other side, the VIP box of Luju Pavilion. You know each other? Wu Yi was surprised. Sophie nodded and explained, to be precise, we are kind of internet friends, or TikTok friends? We have only met once offline, which is why we feel familiar but can't recognize each other, because we usually wear workout clothes when we connect on TikTok. Isn't this too coincidental? Wu Yi looked at the system. He had just had a fight with Chun Hao, and the system in his head was constantly prompting him with information about the girls' likes and dislikes. He had expected to receive a deluge of negative feedback from the girls. But what he didn't expect was that almost all the girls had increased their level of liking for him. Among them, Sophie had reached a level of 70, which was only given to men and women in love. Xiaomumu's level of liking was 35, Zhao Yaqian's was 55, Pan Minmin's was 15, and Lan Meihan's was -15. Everyone's favorability rating has increased somewhat. The strangest thing is that Luna's favorability rating for him has skyrocketed to 40. But, Sister Sophie, how do you know Wu Yi? Xiaomumu asked in surprise. Xiaomumu was very famous in the fitness circle of Luzhou because of her dashing figure. She is also a fitness anchor with more than 100,000 followers, which is an important reason why her ordinary family can support her fitness expenses in college. The reason why she and Sophie know each other is because the fitness circle in Luzhou itself has a group of top coaches, and female fitness coaches are a scarce product in the group, and everyone knows each other. Another reason is that the two of them often meet up to go live and play PK, playing scenarios where you can do it and I can't, and earn some living expenses together. In Xiaomumu's memory, Wu Yi's circle of life seems unlikely to intersect with Sophie's. Sophie was about to say that it was a long story, but then she hesitated. She didn't want to tell Xiaomumu at all that Wu Yi was actually Brother Cat. Zhao Yaqian giggled, and she could guess why. It was probably because she had given too many rewards, and she had been promoted. She had already dug up from the platform's records that Brother Cat had rewarded Xiaosu and Sophie 1 million for their PK. A strong feeling of jealousy rose in her heart. Mumu, let's go. Lan Meihan gave a slight smile, catching Sophie's little expression. What's there to go? We didn't eat anything anyway. Since Fei Fei is treating, let's take advantage of her. Xiaomumu acted as if she hadn't heard, and directly pulled out a chair next to Wu Yi and sat down. Isn't it Brother Cat treating? Zhao Yaqian sweetly smiled at Wu Yi, pulled out a chair on the other side of Wu Yi, and sat down. Sophie was dumbfounded. When she first entered the private room, she chose to sit 2 seats away from Wu Yi, as she had done at the table outside, because the table was large. Now it's even better, as 2 of her classmates have directly sat down on either side of her, and she has become an outsider. The atmosphere suddenly became quite awkward. Wu Yi's body shook, and he glanced at the strong arm next to him. He quickly got up and turned to Lan Meihan, classmate Lan, why don't you sit here? You 3 in the same dormitory must have a lot to talk about. After saying this, he quickly walked over to Sophie's side and sat down. Chapter 29, I have a grandfather. Gee, it's nice to have people on both sides of you, why sit with me? Sophie said with a smile, but she couldn't hide the smile on her face. Wu Yi smiled slightly. Then I'll go? Brother Cat, sit here. Zhao Yaqian immediately waved her hand and dragged out the chair on her other side. What are you going? Sophie pulled Wu Yi down and sat her down. Wu Yi didn't stand firm for a moment and almost fell into Sophie's arms. Cough cough. Wu Yi was embarrassed and laughed, Yaqian and Mumu are both in my class. Really? Sophie shrugged. Of course, Brother Cat is very popular in our class. Zhao Yaqian's eyebrows flowed, a little regret that she didn't call Wu Yi over. By the way, that day, Professor Chen also asked if you had returned to school. Xiaomumu took the lead in starting a topic. Oh, I went to see him. It seems that my thesis has been selected as an outstanding thesis. Wu Yi said. Your thesis has been selected as an outstanding thesis? Lan Meihan was slightly surprised, because she was also evaluating outstanding theses in the department. Her supervisor had already taken great care of her because of her family background, but she had not yet received any news. Wu Yi nodded. Professor Chen should not be wrong. This time, I was just asked to submit some new discussion materials. Gogo, I told you a long time ago that Wu Yi's major courses are excellent. Even Lu Dazue, the academic slacker, passed his guidance and got his thesis passed in one go. Xiaomumu smiled very happily, as if she herself had received an excellent graduation thesis. Ding, Lan Meihan's favorability plus 10. Ding, Sophie's favorability plus 10. Sophie looked at Wu Yi in amazement. From the conversation between the few people, she discovered that Wu Yi was actually a high-achieving student. But she couldn't say a word. What had started out as a date between her and Kat had turned into a reunion with his classmates. And she sensed two things. Xiaomumu must have liked Wu Yi before, but didn't know Wu Yi's identity as Kat. Zhao Yeqian had probably never looked at Wu Yi before, but after learning of Wu Yi's identity as Kat, her attitude had changed 180 degrees. This was a sense of impending crisis. Brother Kat, do you want to serve the food again? Zhao Yeqian kept calling him Brother Kat, so Sophie, who had only called him that occasionally, also got used to calling him that. Wu Yi then remembered that the food serving process had been interrupted earlier, and there were some dishes on the table that they had ordered before. He quickly pressed the service button and pushed the order pad that was placed on the side towards the two of them and said, "Here, there are the dishes I ordered on the pad, feel free to order whatever you want to add." Ding, Lan Meihan's favorability minus 10. Wu Yi. Gutless. Lan Meihan gave a cold smile and glanced at Sophie. She noticed that Sophie's face did not show any signs of discomfort. Wu Yi is an orphan, and she has heard about his family's bad situation, so she thinks the same as Chen Hao, that Wu Yi is most likely spending the fitness trainer's money. It's fine if you spend a girl's money, but you're even showing off with other people's money? Ding, Lan Meihan's favorability rating minus 20. Holy shit? Wu Yi froze for a moment, and Lan Meihan's favorability rating had suddenly dropped to minus 45. What the hell, do you think you're big, eh? What did I do wrong? How can my favorability rating drop so much? Wu Yi looked at Lan Meihan, who had a cold expression, with doubt. Classmate Lan, in fact, we don't really know each other, are you under some kind of misunderstanding? Misunderstanding? Lan Meihan's eyebrows stood on end. This person really has the nerve to say there's a misunderstanding. She gave a look of utter contempt and said to Wu Yi, as an alumnus, I think that since you are a talented person, you should earn your own money and make your own way in the world through hard work. You are even more disgusting than that greasy old man, spending other people's hard-earned money and flirting with girls in front of them. At least that person is earning her money through hard work. Lan, I think you're right. It's better to have a career if you want to pick up girls. Wu Yi touched his chin and suddenly felt that Lan Meihan was right. Money alone definitely won't work. Why not set up an investment company that specializes in investing in beautiful women? Pick up girls, make money, and build a career, 3 things at once. You. Lan Meihan's expression was full of murderous intent. After a while, her breasts started to rise and fall, and she got up directly. Mumu, you want to eat? You eat here, I'm leaving. Sophie giggled, quickly got up, grabbed Lan Meihan, and pushed her back into her seat, saying, This young lady, you really think too highly of me. How can I let Brother Cat eat my soft rice? A few minutes later. See? After listening to Sophie's explanation, Zhao Yeqian and Xiaomumu both took a big breath. 5 million yuan at a time? Lan Meihan's eyes showed a hint of surprise. Her card was given to her by the elders of her family, but there was only a few 100,000 yuan in the balance. Who would charge 5 million yuan in a restaurant all at once? And Xiaomumu and Zhao Yeqian's eyes were filled with stars. Xiaomumu was the first to ask Wu Yi, did you win the lottery? Why do you suddenly have so much money? Wu Yi had already thought of an excuse and laughed. To be honest, not long ago, my grandfather, a super rich man who had been living abroad, came back to claim his family, so I inexplicably became a third-generation rich man. The girls? If you don't want to talk about it, just don't. Xiaomumu shrugged, but they all tacitly avoided the topic. After all, wealth is still a relatively private matter. No wonder, even Sister Feifei has become your girlfriend. Ha, you're thinking too much. Wu Yi smiled slightly, glanced at Sophie and said just now, the most beautiful woman in our class who was into fitness directly rejected my confession. I'm now in the period of confession and heartbreak, haha. Rejected? Xiaomumu glanced at Sophie. Sophie has really high standards. Zhao Yeqian laughed, hey, why don't you consider me, Kat? I think having a boyfriend like you is like a blessing from a previous life. Xiaomumu. Sophie. Sophie looked confused. Refuse? When did I refuse? When did you, scumbag, confess your love to me? Was it that sentence inviting me to become your woman? You call that a confession? Do you want me to say, yes, I'd like to be your woman? We've only known each other for less than 3 hours, okay? Sophie held back the urge to vomit blood and said in a bad mood, yeah, someone with a 5 million meal card came to me to confess their love. Am I stupid to accept this kind of confession? Who confesses their love with a meal card? Tina Lu, High Class Versailles. Xiaomumu patted his chest and looked at Wu Yi with a look of being infuriated, saying, this is forcing you to pretend, aren't you particularly happy? Why don't you give me one too? You can pretend however you like, I'll get Guiguo to cooperate with you. You want one? Wu Yi laughed. Chapter 30, I only spend money on girls who put me at the top of their hearts. He subconsciously checked the system. There was no way. His wallet was running low, and he couldn't let last night happen again. Xiaomumu's money desire was 40, up 5 points from earlier. It can be used. Ah. Xiaomumu froze for a moment, a hint of nervousness creeping onto her face. I don't have that kind of charm, you think I don't know? You guys in the boys' dormitory, apart from you, they all call me tomboy, female King Kong. If someone really gave me 5 million, I'd have to repay them with my body, right? Zhao Yaqian was also shocked. This is a joke, but even though it's a rechargeable card, it's still 5 million yuan. Wu Yi's words seem to imply that you want me to do it for you. Why don't you do it for Guogua? If she says no, she'll accept your confession. Xiaomumu suddenly changed the subject to Lan Meihan. Wu Yi glanced over and noticed that Lan Meihan's expression was unruffled. She smiled slightly. No, Lan was the first school flower at Lulu University for 4 years, and she must have had a group of suitors. I have no interest in constantly fighting monsters and going through hardships to get ahead. I only spend money on girls who are willing to put me in their hearts. Xiaomumu's face flushed all the way to her ears. Wu Yi waved at Xiaoye, who was not far away, and Xiaoye immediately came over. Sir, can I help you? In fact, just now, Wu Yi had already pressed the button to summon Yi, but since they were having a good chat, Yi had temporarily stood by and waited. I just smashed the wine, so bring another bottle. And get this lady Xiao a VIP card too. Wu Yi pointed at Xiaomumu. Okay. Yi quickly replied, then hesitated for a moment. Sir, you're not joking, are you? Wu Yi smiled slightly. Do I look like someone who jokes? Xiaomumu. Zhao Yaqian. Sophie? Lan Meihan. Brother Mao, I was joking, how could I get such an expensive card? And I didn't take you to heart. Xiaomumu swallowed dryly, picked up the ice cubes on the cart and rolled them over his face twice to cool down. Wu Yixia smiled charmingly, looked at Xiaomumu, and stunned the originally carefree Xiaomumu into lowering his head. You're going to give yourself to me just for a card, so how is it not the first priority? Moreover, Wu Yi said, looking at Sophie. I have a lot of money anyway, so it doesn't matter who I spend it on. Instead of being rejected, why not spend it on someone who will give themselves to you? You never know, you might even be able to teach me how to build my abs. Hey, do you want a beating? Just talk, you don't have to be like that. Xiaomumu heard this and subconsciously swatted his fist and cursed, but suddenly he felt a bit inappropriate and quickly put his hand down. Wu Yi felt a bit funny and joked again, just remember to go home and get the household register, and go with me tomorrow to get the certificate. Xiaomumu's personality is generally carefree, and although Wu Yi's joke made her feel a little embarrassed, she still said with a heroic air, who cares? If Feifei doesn't want you, I won't be polite. To really marry a local tyrant like you is the dream of many people, I'm just afraid that you won't dare go with me tomorrow. Ding, Xiaomumu's favorability plus 30. Name, Xiaomumu. Age, 23. Face value index, 90. Body type index, 91. Money desire, 40. Host favorability, 65. Physical health, strain on the left shoulder ligament. Damn, did you go too far? Wu Yi's shoulders shrunk, and she looked at Xiaomumu in surprise. We were just joking, and it was fine just now, so what's the sudden increase in favorability? Zhao Yaqian on the other side was very jealous. She also wanted to say that if she were to do it, she would be willing to give herself to him. Not to mention being devoted to you, even being a lover, a mistress, or a second wife is fine. But she's already been with someone else, and picking up rotten leaves for someone else is just going to make them dislike you. After much thought, Zhao Yaqian still managed to suppress the impulse in her heart. Sophie's heart was even more stormy. Wu Yi's words carried a meaning, and even Xiao Mumu could hear it, so how could she not hear it? Sophie looked at the sparkle in Xiao Mumu's eyes. A woman knows a woman too well. Wu Yi might be joking, but Xiao Mumu definitely wasn't. Sophie was now extremely annoyed. She really shouldn't have invited these two to sit down. She noticed that even the expression on Lan Meihan's face, which had been cold and indifferent, had become much gentler, and there was a strange feeling in the way she looked at Wu Yi. Her brows furrowed slightly, but there was nothing she could do. The way a man swipes his card with such generosity is simply lethal to a woman's attraction. Sophie knew exactly what Wu Yi meant. Who cares who the money is spent on? The follow-up to this sentence is, if you don't want it, there are plenty of people who do. Sophie thought about this and unnaturally moved her chair a little closer to Wu Yi, pretending to watch Wu Yi and Xiaoye talk. Sophie actually wanted to learn from Lu Na's way of sitting close to Chen Hao, but she was a girl who had never even been in a relationship a few times, and after struggling for a long time, she just made a gesture of moving her position. She put on a coy look as if she were a little woman going out to dinner with her husband. She helped Wu Yi open another bottle of Diet Coke, added some to the glass, and put in a piece of ice. The sizzling sound of the soda caused everyone in the room to fall into a moment of silence. Ding, found that the host is a beautiful woman with a grade of A or above, spending 5 million yuan, cashback 1 billion, and the balance on the card is 180,747,980 yuan. Ding, host please note, Xiao Mumu's desire for money has dropped to 20. If the host continues to spend, they will not be able to receive the rebate. The system's prompt did not surprise Wu Yi. After all, Xiao Mumu's desire for money was not high. Unfortunately, Lan Meihan's desire for money was too low. Wu Yi checked, and tonight's high-end place to spend, and the impact of the 5 million recharge, had not brought Lan Meihan any increase in desire for money. Wu Yi couldn't help but become curious about Lan Meihan's family. What kind of conditions at home could cultivate such a girl with no desire for money? As for Zhao Yaqian, Wu Yi really didn't like this particularly clever woman. It would be better to find a girl on a short video platform. On the other side, Xiao Mumu was not so calm. She was trembling all over, and her ID number was reported incorrectly several times due to excessive nervousness. This is 5 million. Xiao Mumu was carefree. But when Wu Yizhen swiped her 5 million, she was so nervous that her heart almost jumped out of her throat. She tugged the corner of Lan Meihan's jacket, her eyes full of the words, "What should I do?" Lan Meihan gave Xiao Mumu a cold stare and yanked the corner of her jacket. "What should I do? When you reported your ID number, why didn't you refuse?"